On your mark, get set. Let's go.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Mister, will you please wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up?
Good morning. Kevin Durant, you should have left California.
This brownsexual upset me in having to bring this teenage idiot from Wisconsin into a sports conversation. Are you really surprised the Cowboys are giving up on Ezekiel Elliott?
Whoa. Hell no. Well, no one cares about baseball.
Bitch, are you for real?
Oh, yeah! Time to get this party started. Good morning. Welcome to the wacky Wednesday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Glad to have y'all with us. We are all over the place, and we want to thank y'all for sticking with us. And man, I'll tell you what, we got a loaded show for you this morning, and we hope that you stick around and that you will continue to join us and support us. You're going to see all kinds of different setups today because I finally decided to tinker with it and experiment with it, and everybody gave me the green light, including our wonderful executive producer, Cole Johnson. Gave me the green light to make this better. His input is in this. My wife Jody is involved in the setup and making the setup better. And there's a couple things that are going to change throughout time. So if you see a set change within the show, do not be alarmed. It's just a couple of designs that I'm experimenting with, and we're trying to make this show a whole lot better. Joining me as always from the Northeast is the big dog, Shane Lake. Good morning, my man. How are you?
What up, Snowman?
Time to roll today. And of course, joining us from Chicago, my hometown of Chicago. And it's always fun having him. Of course, every day we have the random musings of Victor Locke joins us from the Windy City. Good morning, my man. How are you?
Good morning, brothers. How are you guys doing today?
What up, Vic?
Doing all right, big dog.
We missed the first 2 days of free agency. I realized that, and people were wondering where I was. I was not feeling good, and my schedule has changed. So had to get that situated. My podiatrist has cleared me to drive, and so I'm able to take a little pressure off of my wife by taking my daughter, I beg your pardon, to and from work. And we'll start there. We'll take about 5 minutes off of sports, but how did you feel?
I want to start out first off by saying you sound like a kid in a candy store a couple nights ago when you were driving. You were happy to be driving.
Man, you just don't.
I'm happy.
You just don't know, and
But
that's where I'm starting.
You.
Thank you. That's where I'm starting the show today. We'll get to all the free agent moves. Believe me, we'll get to all the free agent moves. A little bit of United Football League talk will be in as well. Got a couple of great guests for you. Pat Ruffino from the USFL Hub will join me, and also Connor Klingon as we revive our popular mic to mic segment. Just a lot of organization going on with the show, and things are getting together. We have now expanded to 3 hours for you guys, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And yes, I was a kid in the candy store when I was driving because, one, I get a chance to drive again, and two, it allows me to take some pressure off of my wife. You gentlemen know it, and to all the guys that have tuned in to me and have followed my health situation, which is getting better, and knows what's going on with me. It was tough
Oh yeah,
for
I know.
about 6 weeks. I was not allowed to drive, and seeing the exhaustion and the pressure it put on my wife, it did something to me.
Yeah.
And y'all already know how protective I am of Jody and my children, and just to see the exhaustion on her face,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I have to tell you guys, it hit me, and it hit me hard.
Right.
You have this sense of powerlessness because you want to help, but you can't right now because you have injuries. It's funny because the day you texted me about your toe, I
Mhm.
was just getting out of my procedure, which was an endoscopy
Yes.
for my esophagus. So
Mhm.
literally one person out, one person in.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I told you, just another battle that you're going to win. I kept telling you that. Just another battle you're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And it may take a bit, but you're going to win it.
Yeah. And I got to admit to you guys, I heard your words, Victor,
Mm-hmm.
but I certainly didn't. But at the time, I certainly didn't feel them. I just felt so helpless.
Of course. You're going to. But those are the moments where you really search within you and you get that pun partially intended, that big dog. That
Yes.
big dog comes out.
Yeah. It finally, after time, it finally came out, and it took a visit to the doctor and her using the word amputation
Mm-hmm.
to not only knock me down but get me back up, because I was afraid to use the word. We
Right.
all have words that we're afraid to use, especially A, men, and B, when it comes to men's health. There are words that we are
Mm-hmm.
afraid to use even though it's happening to us. And that word amputation, I cried on both of you guys' shoulders as well as my family's
Mm-hmm.
shoulders. Man,
Yep.
it was so hard to use that word, but now it is not, since my wife is at every appointment with me except recently when she had to work in Indianapolis. She's at every wound care appointment with me, and she shows me and outlines the progress for me. And y'all
Mm-hmm.
wonder why I call her Dr. K. She breaks it down for me. The doctors
Yes,
break it
indeed.
down for me, but she breaks it down even more. And once I started to use the word amputation, and amputation or amputated or any other form of the word, it kind of made me A, realize what happened, and B, what I need to do to get better so it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't happen again. But I tell you what, and like I said, I cried on both of you guys' shoulders when that word was used in front of me by Dr. Payton. And I love you, Dr. Payton, and everybody at Franciscan Health. It knocked me sideways. It mentally knocked me sideways.
It's something that I believe a lot of humans, mostly men, you hear it in passing.
Mm-hmm.
You never hear it when it's directed to you. You hear it in passing, you're like, well, it's not going to be me.
Right.
And then you sit in a doctor's office and they're telling you, well, we're going to have to amputate this, we're going to amputate that. And you're like, wait, what?
Yep.
That's not supposed to be me.
Yep.
That's not supposed to be me. But
Yep.
once you say, okay, this is a new hurdle, this is a new challenge, this is a new fight that I'm going to win. My uncle always says it. The fight is never over until you win.
And he's right. He's absolutely right. And those are the words that Victor used on me one night when Jody was taking Sonya to work, and I was in bed just crying. I was like so emotional, not because of what happened to my toe and the word amputation used, but just again seeing the exhaustion on my wife's face when she got home, knowing how much more pressure it put on her and how helpless I felt. And Big Dog, I come to you because you've been through a similar situation with your health. We've both been through health problems in the
Oh, yeah.
decade plus that we've known each other. knowing the pressure it put on your wife, I know it hurt, man. I know it. I know it hurt you. I absolutely know it hurt you. But at the same time, and Victor said it, he used the word, and now I use it. You feel helpless.
Yeah, you do, unfortunately. And I mean, I've had everything from back injuries to bruised up sternums to, unfortunately, a couple of different concussions while being with her. And especially considering raising the little guy, it just put that much more strain on everything. So when you're laid up for even a day or two, that helpless feeling is just going to sink in.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that I couldn't drive, really amplified my cabin fever. Let me just go ahead and say it out loud. It was cabin fever. And it not only took you guys, and I love y'all for keeping me in perspective, it took Cheyenne, my daughter, to knock some sense into me. And I have since been in counseling, and I've used my microphone as my therapy as well. So let me send a shout out to my beautiful daughter Cheyenne for like just sitting here in studio with me a couple weeks ago and just letting me get all the feelings out. And she asked me a critical question. She says, "Why don't you tell mom, aka Jody, how you're feeling?" I looked at her and I said, "Baby girl, she's got enough to deal with. And I'm trying to be strong for her," which she asked me to be, because Jody is working on herself and making herself better. And I'm not laying that on her. I want her to see me at as close to full strength as possible, because she's going through enough as it is.
But also remember that that's what marriage is. It's this partnership where you can't always carry the load. We as men, we want to carry the load. No matter how big that load is, no matter how vast that load is, it doesn't matter if it's Mount Everest, Mount Fuji, Mount St. Helens, they're all on your back. You want to carry that load. The thing is that we're all human.
Yeah.
We will break. And that's when you need to go to your loved one, your wife, and say, "Hey, there's some things that I'm worried about. There's things that are bothering me." Not to necessarily put it on them, but just to let them know what you're going through so they can get you through it. They can encourage you.
And eventually I did. One night I was just crying so loud. She leaned over and gave me a kiss, and she says, "Talk to me." And I let it out. How I was feeling, the horrible case of cabin fever, because I went through that 2 summers ago. Just being feeling alone. And she reminded me, "You're not alone." That helped me get through. My children helped me get through. Dakota was just over here recently. They were working on my car. And Jody came in the house with a big smile on her face. She said, you heard your car crank up, right?" And I got so excited. There's still a few things we got to get together. We got to get together with it. But the day I'm clear to like use a cane and walk again, y'all know I'm getting back on the Uber Eats beats. But I got to be physically cleared for that, and that I understand. Dr. Warnock, who is my podiatrist, thank you so much for everything that you have done. The folks at Franciscan Health and at Columbus Regional Hospital for everything that they have done. A little man talk and a little health talk to begin the show. Let's pause for a break, and when y'all get back, we will dive into everything dealing with free agency. NFL free agency.
Ooh, I got some things to get on my chest right now.
Yeah, we're on day 3, but we're going to cover the first 2 days, and we all have some feelings to get off our chest. Stick around, sit back, relax, and strap it down. Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson, back after this.
Hey everybody, Snowman here. Looking for the best way to experience live events? Well, SeatGeek has you covered. With just a few taps on your phone, you can find the best seats for concerts, sports, theater, and more. Don't miss out on unforgettable moments. Download the SeatGeek app today and get ready for an experience like no other. Each ticket is vetted for authenticity and ranked on a 1 to 10 scale. And right now, if you sign up and use the code Snowman, you will get $20 off of your first purchase. That's only through the power of SeatGeek, where fans can fan.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
SNWMN Multimedia is how you can follow us for all of our programming. I tinkered with the idea of bringing back separate names for the shows, but then I thought, nah, we got everything organized now. Let's keep it that way. Victor Locke, Shane Lake joining yours truly here on the program on this Wednesday. Y'all know how we're going to close out the Wednesday show, the final segment of the day, and it's going to be the final segment of every Wednesday and not a full hour like we had before. Important stuff here. Let's get to it. Free agency has started. We're into day 3 thereof, but we're going to start at day 1. And I frightened the daylights out of Victor when I called him when the news came down that Russell Wilson had made his decision. This was Sunday night. And I have never seen or heard Victor nervous. He was nervous when he was waiting for me to tell him which team he signed with. He signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers on a 1-year deal. And you want to talk about someone breathing a sigh of relief. That was Victor breathing a big sigh of relief.
Tell the truth. I said, thank God.
Yeah, you did.
Thank God.
Yeah, you did. You did. And
you decided to troll and say, but why? Why am I so worried? Why was I so worried about him coming to Dallas? Because he's trash. We've seen it. So
why the hell is he going to Pittsburgh?
I don't know. But I'm just glad he didn't go to Dallas. I don't care. I'm sorry. Russell Wilson is weapons grade trash. And he showed that for the time that he was in Denver.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
Okay, here's a question, gentlemen. Is he going to be a backup to Kenny Pickett?
He better be.
Or will Mike Tomlinson pull the trigger and make him a starter? Let me go to Shane with this question. How will Mike Tomlinson play this quarterback room with Kenny Pickett? Oh, God. Y'all are watching. Y'all see the look on Shane's face. I agree too. I agree too.
We know where this is going.
I totally agree. But got to put the question out there because all the trolls are going to be asking and they're going to be on the Russell Wilson bandwagon again. So I'm going to, for half of once in my life, be a diplomat and put the question out there. Do you think, Shane Lake, that Russell Wilson starts or is he a backup to Kenny Pickett?
To all the trolls that are currently out there, to quote somebody that we all know and love on SmackDown, let me talk to you. We all know Tomlin's going to end up probably starting doggone West. I almost called him Westbrook. He's about as bad as Westbrook.
I was going to say he's the Westbrook of the NFL. I don't disagree.
Russell Wilson, unfortunately, will more than likely be starting because we all know Tomlin's going to want to try out the new shiny toy until the toy ends up breaking 3 games in.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is Pickett ain't exactly the best backup idea either.
Mm-mm.
So the fact of the matter is, Pittsburgh, write your season off now. You're not going to get a whole lot of help.
Yep.
Wow. I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
Didn't even have to give me the hot seat take for that one. I already provide the heat.
I'll weigh in next. Shane's right. This season for Pittsburgh is done. And y'all, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Okay? I'll say it. But this will be the first losing season in Mike Tomlin's career because this quarterback situation has not been solved by signing Russell Wilson. I think he will wind up starting. I do. I really believe that he will wind up starting. The problem I see is Russell Wilson is not who he was when he came into the league with Seattle. Pete Carroll is at fault for not providing him with an offensive line after Marshawn Lynch retired, although they tried it again in 2019 when they came up a half a yard short of the NFC West Division title. But we've seen Russell Wilson deteriorate before our eyes.
Yep.
We've seen Russell Wilson deteriorate right in front of us.
It's like watching the Grand Canyon expand.
And the 2 years in Denver. Oh my gosh.
Didn't help.
No, it didn't help. It didn't help at all. And that's an organizational fault as well as Russell Wilson's fault also.
Yeah.
The biggest question I have when it comes to Pittsburgh is, who the hell does Wilson have for doggone weapons?
Besides George Pickens. George Pickens and Freiermuth, the tight end. Which running back are they going to lean on? Here's my question. A great quarterback is defined by a running game. Which running back are they going to lean on the most in Pittsburgh? There's my question.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I agree.
Here's a better question. Why are we asking better questions than the mainstream sports media?
Because we got the ball. I got the answer right now because we got the balls to do it.
Because you guys are asking questions that should be asked by the mainstream media.
I have a better answer because they're too chicken to do it. They're too chicken to do it. Because I don't see how. I really don't see how this is going to work.
It's not.
I don't see how this is going to work. And really the scary part is the absolute scary part about all of this. They expect it to work somehow. I don't know how.
They're the only ones.
They're the only ones. They're the only ones. And my question to Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers is, why are you taking this on?
I'm making a bold prediction right now. And it's not even a prediction, it's a fear.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers will end up getting number 1 draft pick next year. Just from what I have seen, the total mismanagement in that front office is going to tank, and Tomlin will not be able to stop it.
And somehow last year, when they were supposed to tank under Kenny Pickett, they wound up with another winning record, and they got blown to smithereens in the playoffs. That winning record streak, I'll make a bold prediction of my own. That winning record streak ends this coming season.
I'll do you one better. That's how many wins they're getting all year. Plain and simple.
I see it.
4.
I absolutely see it. Speaking of, well, you know what? Let's do this. Let's stay with Russell Wilson, because everybody knows the chronological career of Russell Wilson. Of course, he played at North Carolina State, then he transferred to Wisconsin and did a lot of things at Wisconsin. Then he went to Seattle, won a Super Bowl, should have won a second Super Bowl and called an audible. He did not. And he has not been the same since that Super Bowl loss. He has not been the same.
He got rattled and he ain't been able to shake it since.
Yep.
Denver wasn't it.
Why do you guys think that is? Let's go with that. You want a question that the mainstream media is afraid to ask? Here it is. Why do y'all think Russell Wilson has never been able to shake that loss in the Super Bowl off, when many second guessers, myself included, said he should have just turned and handed to Marshawn Lynch, which turns out it was the truth. But at the time, we were all second guessing because we weren't there in his head in the huddle. And I agree with all of that. But Shane, let me come to you first and let me get your thoughts. Why do you think that loss in the Super Bowl has not been able to be shaken off by Russell Wilson?
Asking a former athlete about big losses. Okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, once you get a loss that big on the absolute biggest stage, coming as close as they did, a half yard from picking up ring number 2, only to get intercepted by Malcolm Butler, you will be rattled for a long time.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, a change of venue won't even help you.
No,
you need to be able to psychologically put that out of your own head, and Russell Wilson never had the chance to do it. And unfortunately, because of that, his career, what little of it there was, after winning his first Super Bowl, nosedived.
Big nosedive. Victor, your thoughts on that?
Shane said exactly where I was going to go. It's the sheer magnitude, and it's also the caliber of the mistake. You're on the half-yard line of the grandest game of them all.
Yep.
Imagine, Snowman, you're on the free throw line of the NBA Finals. Right? You're down by 1. You don't have much time left, and you got the free throw that will tie the game, send you as an overtime, and possibly win it in the next period.
Yep.
And just a mental error, something that you've done hundreds of times, that one mental error, you end up missing the free throw, and the game is over.
Yeah, I've seen it happen.
That is
so haven't I.
That's the caliber of the mistake Russell Wilson made, to not audible when you had arguably the best running back in the league.
The animal
being
himself.
Being Marshawn Lynch. You don't have enough sense to say, I know Pete Carroll wants me to do a play action. Yeah, the defense is probably looking for a run, but screw it. I'm going to go ahead, take a chance, put it in Beast Mode's gut, and make him get those points. And 9 times out of 10, that's what would have happened.
Especially with the way Lynch was running that game.
Exactly.
New England had a hard time controlling him, especially going north and south.
He had 105 yards on the ground in that game.
Exactly.
105 yards. And at that time, when does New England surrender a 100-yard rusher?
They don't.
They don't.
The fact of the matter is, he never banged it outside the numbers. He was always in the hashes getting those yardage. So it would make common sense to say, hey, look, we need a half a yard. Yeah, New England's going to stack the line, but we got a better shot at getting it with Lynch than we do trying to throw it.
Exactly.
Right.
And so now you look at Russell Wilson's career. It's not the amount of wins he's gotten. It's not the Super Bowl he's won. He'll always be looked at as the quarterback who was half a yard away from winning his second Super Bowl, and he chose to throw the ball. That type of stigma will kill your momentum.
It wasn't even exactly the best route for the throw either.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't. It was not. It was not.
I mean, he was looking for a simple little flat route, and it turns out it got blown up.
And you know what Russell Wilson would like to do with that memory?
Delete!
If you're the kind of person that likes to drive a lot and your car is a little bit older and out of the normal warranty, keep listening.
He would love to do
What's going on underneath the hood of
Let's
your
take a break. I got Connor Klingon coming up, and when we start
if
the
your
second
car
hour,
is out of warranty,
Derrick Henry
you're at risk
has a new home
of expensive repair bills.
So does
now
Saquon
for
Barkley.
a couple of dollars
We're
a
gonna
day,
get to
you can get an extended protection plan for your car. Hey, you love your car, so why not give it a little extra care? Make sure if something goes wrong, your bank account is safe. Literally, for a couple of dollars a day, you can give yourself peace of mind that you purchased a top-tier vehicle repair coverage plan. Call the Auto Protection Network right now and ask how you could save an additional $500 on your policy.
Call 877-845-0463. Call now.
Are you ready to upgrade your coffee game? Prepare for an invasion of flavor with Invader Coffee. It's the caffeinated elixir that fuels champions, the blend that pushes boundaries. Whether you're battling deadlines or exploring uncharted territories, Invader Coffee has your back. Join the invasion at invadercoffee.com and taste the difference for yourself. Use the code SNOWMAN for 15% off your first order. Invader Coffee, veteran owned.
If you can celebrate Christian McCaffrey having a 1,000 season, if you can celebrate Marshall Faulk, who had a 1,000 season by electing him into the Hall of Fame, then why can't we celebrate the guy who originated the 1,000 season with a Hall of Fame election? I'm talking about the one and only Roger Craig.
If you want some, come get some.
Welcome back to Snowman in the Morning.
Welcome back to this edition of Snowman in the Morning. Glad to have y'all with us. And I have a very special guest right now on the Invader Coffee Hotline. We met because of a call that I made in 2012. And y'all remember earlier in the show, I talked about the Marist Miracles. This is a guy that recognized me because of the Marist Miracles, and he wanted to learn how to do play-by-play, and I was more than happy to take him under my wing, and to say that I'm proud of him would be a horrible understatement. There's so much more I can say about this young man, but I will let him tell the story of how we met. Please help me welcome Mr. Connor Clingan, voice of the Kane County Cougars, close to my hometown in Chicago. Connor, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Brian. It's great to get on the show, and you know, I remember coming on Snowman in the Morning that first season doing St. Joe's, so it's great to be back on.
It's great to be back with you, man. I mean, the first season that you were covering St. Joe's for football. We had the games on our network. It was such a joy to hear you call the games. But I've had people ask me how many people have run into me because of the Marist Miracles. And you have the best story about that. Why don't you tell everybody what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. We were both doing different streams for, I'm forgetting the name of the league. I think it was the Chicago Steam against the Chicago Breeze.
Mm-hmm.
And I was filling in for a friend of mine who was an intern. I believe he was working for the Breeze and you were working for the Steam.
Yep.
And I heard your voice and I totally recognized it from the Marist Miracles. I had seen those clips go viral, you know, doing some play-by-play work in college, and I was a big fan of it, you know, being from the Chicagoland area. It's like, hey, that's, you know, Marist High School right on the south side of Chicago, and I heard your voice. I said, you know, that sounds, I think that's who called the Marist Miracles, and so I brought it up to you, and thankfully, you know, you gave me some opportunities with St. Joe's, which I'm very grateful for. That, you know, at that time, coming out of school, I had thought about hanging it up a little bit and was just looking for an opportunity, and was glad that I ran into you and got one.
I'm so glad that we met and ran into each other also, man. I mean, it was so much fun hearing you cover St. Joe's, and it was also fun that we got to call a game together at St. Joe's in the old gym.
Yeah, that was great. It was Hall of Fame night, and you know, that was a cool experience because those were two of the last seasons that Coach Pingator was there, and of course, unfortunately, once the pandemic hit, St. Joseph's ended up closing.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's really sad. An institution in Chicagoland basketball, obviously in the movie Hoop Dreams, and Coach Pingator being a Hall of Famer. And but it was a special experience to be there, and it was awesome we got a chance to call a game together there.
It was Absolutely great. It was a full house. Most of you have heard me talk about Chicago Catholic League games before here on the program, and such an experience doing it. I covered St. Joe's for part of the year that I was with Connor. Covered Brother Rice for 12 years. Had Mount Carmel for about 8 years. I've seen St. Rita. I've seen the Tech Center. Of course, it's DePaul Prep. It was Gordon Tech once upon a time. And man, you know as well as I that when you get a chance to cover a Catholic League game, which is sold out all the time, doesn't matter the records or anything like that, it's just one great experience after another.
It is, yeah. It's a special league, and again, it's unfortunate St. Joe's is no longer around, but still to this day, I mean, seeing the Chicago Catholic League, DePaul Prep just won a state championship there with Coach Kleinschmidt, and I know I saw them have some battles with St. Joe's. Actually, if I remember, Rashid Bello, who went on to play Division II at Parkside in Wisconsin, he made a half-court shot at the buzzer to beat St. Joe's, and that was a legendary game. And it seemed like it was almost every week you were going to get a battle like that, whether St. Joe's was playing Loyola, DePaul Prep, St. Pat's is a big rivalry for them as well. Just a blast to cover that league always.
The two schools I covered the most, of course, were Marist and Brother Rice. I had each of them for about a decade, and it's so much fun covering that battle and all the battles in the Chicago Catholic League. And like myself, Connor has called a myriad of sports. He's a graduate of the University of Notre Dame, and he covers a sport that I love covering, but I haven't done in a while, especially in the CCL, and that's hockey. What was your first hockey assignment, and tell me how that experience is?
Yeah, it was actually when I was in college at Notre Dame. I don't think I had any business at the time doing it, but they actually put me on the color commentary with Mike Monaco, who's now doing the NHL on ESPN. I mean, he's a fantastic play-by-play voice. But I knew some hockey just from being a Blackhawks fan. My dad played, when I was growing up, he played beer league hockey. I used to go to his games. So they felt confident enough to put me on the color commentary. I want to say the first game I did was a Notre Dame-Vermont game. And, I don't know if I want to go back and check the tape, but ever since then, I've continued to it's a difficult sport to call, no question about it. I mean, you gotta make sure you have the entire roster memorized. And when I first started there, I think I was kind of flying blind. But since then, I've had more great opportunities with Notre Dame. I've done some work with Western Michigan hockey, and then last year I was filling in as the voice of the Rockford IceHawks for a little bit, which was a great experience as well. So, love doing hockey. It's an awesome sport, and this year also did a little bit of hockey in Chicagoland with New Trier and St. Viator. Did a game with Don Johnson. He's a blast to work with as well. So, hockey's a lot of fun to cover. I really enjoy it. It's fast-paced. It's exciting. And I'm glad I've been given opportunities and improved in that sport because I'm sure, when I first started, like I said, I don't think I had any business being on the air there.
Sure you did, man. You had business being on the air. And before my wife and I move west, we got to do one hockey game together. We got to do at least one.
Absolutely. I'm in. We'll find one.
And the other sport where we need to do a game together, you are the voice of the Kane County Cougars, and I've always wanted to have a summer baseball schedule. I haven't gotten the opportunity yet, but I've listened to some of your calls with Kane County. How much fun is that to have your summers filled with baseball?
It's a blast, and I'm very lucky to work with a guy who you may know, actually, a Marist High School graduate, Joe Brand.
Yes.
The pre and post radio host for the Blackhawks. He is the voice of the Cougars. So I'm the number 2 guy, and Joe and I, he's very gracious, giving me the opportunity to do a lot of play-by-play, but we love working together. I mean, it is so much fun to come out there to Kane County, and they did lose their affiliation a few years ago, so they're now an independent team of the American Association. But the great thing about Kane County is the fans, that doesn't matter to them. They still pack that place. It's over 5,000 fans a night. And being an independent team, I think it actually makes the games a little bit more interesting because the players are more experienced. And while they do want to develop and try to get to the next level and try to get back to affiliated baseball,
right?
It's much more about winning baseball games. When the Cougars were a single A team, it was about developing talent for whatever the major league club was. Now, as a team in the American Association, George Samus, their manager, his goal is to try to win baseball games and eventually win a championship and bring it to Kane County. So it's made for really exciting baseball, and it's a blast to come out there for 50 nights of summer.
I had the thrill of covering the American Association. I was covering the Gary South Shore Railcats for the better part of 5 years. And in 2013, when they won it all, you want to talk about a place going crazy. A championship to Gary, Indiana, the American Association Championship to Gary, Indiana, and that was their second. That was their second championship because they won the Northern League title in 2005. Man, to get to that part of the season, to get to the playoff part of the season, I can honestly tell you it's crazy because in 2017, the last game. The last game was to determine not only a playoff spot, but also a division championship. We needed Winnipeg, we needed the Gold Eyes to lose, and the Railcats took care of their business. But as the summers go on and standings come into play and how many wins come into play, and the players are playing even harder than ever, as you said a few moments ago, to that, can you speak to that level of how exciting it gets late in the summer when you're competing for either a playoff spot or a division title?
Oh, it's very exciting, and it's totally different. I've had the opportunity to work in affiliated minor league baseball when I was with the Winston-Salem Dash, and don't get me wrong, I loved that experience. They were a White Sox affiliate. It was very cool. But you can just sense, even at the ballpark, when it gets late in the season, the American Association, the fans are invested. They're going up and looking at the board and seeing what the standings are like. You're walking around the concourse and they're asking, hey, how far out are we of first place? Do we have a playoff spot locked up? It seems like the fans, it basically translates from the field. They can see that these players are really giving their all to try to win that championship, and then it translates over to the fans as well. And, speaking of the Gary South Shore Railcats, they have a super passionate fan base. Their fans come and travel out to Kane County. They bring I think it's cowbells or noisemakers of some kind out. And they're a great fan base. I have a great appreciation for what they do. And, that's the fun thing about that league is you have a lot of teams in close proximity. With the Cougars, we've got the Chicago Dogs that are a big rival. They made the championship this past year. You've got the Milwaukee Milkmen just up the road, Lake Country, which is a newer franchise as well. So it's a great league, and it's been a blast. Before I worked for the Cougars, the first game was in 2021. I really didn't know much about the American Association, but now having been in the league for a few years, I really enjoy it, and I think more people should learn about independent baseball. And, the guys out there truly, we used to talk about college athletes, how, they play for the love of the game. Well, now I think with the NIL, that's maybe not the way that it used to be either. But truly, these guys out there, they are playing for the love of the game. They're not making the big bucks. They're not getting these $1 million contracts. they are trying to keep their careers alive, and they are busting their butt every single day. And it's awesome to be around those guys. The Cougars have a great clubhouse, led again by George Samus, who you probably saw used to be the St. Paul Saints manager for a long time.
Yep.
Won multiple championships there. He has, created a great environment where it's focused on winning. They have fun. It's still, it's still got that independent league baseball aspect where they do the promotions between innings, and, the players will put on weird costumes if they need to sometimes and things like that. They have a lot of fun with it, but they're still out there to win every single night.
Connor Klingon joining us here on the program, sharing some broadcast stories. And I'll tell you what, man, the game that we did together at St. Joe's, like you said, it was Hall of Fame night. That was the first time in person I've ever had the chance to meet Coach Pingator. Such a wonderful, wonderful gentleman. I mean, if it weren't for the fact that we had a ball game to call, we just sat there and chatted probably the entire night, and I had a chance to meet a lot of the fans in the St. Joe's fan base. They played Brother Rice that night, so that their fan base was there. Of course, the Crusader Crazies were there. Bobby Frazier, one-time player for Brother Rice, was the coach. So it was kind of a reunion for both of us. And man, I'll tell you what, the score may not indicate it, but those kids had a fun night.
Yeah, that game, that was a special night. The Hall of Fame night. It just shows the legacy of St. Joe's, how much that school meant to the Westchester community and all the alumni of St. Joseph. And, Coach Pingator, it was special to get to cover him and his teams there, because you just knew you were in the presence of a living legend. And, God rest his soul. Of course, he, ended up passing away in 2019. And to be there for those last few years, it was special. And it's something I'll never forget. I still, to this day, I keep in touch with, Mark Sassetti, a number of different people in the St. Joseph community. And though the school is gone, the spirit of St. Joseph and Coach Pingator, I feel like really lives on through the alumni, a lot of the past players, parents, everybody that was involved with that school. They still have a lot of pride in what was going on there in Westchester.
Yeah, they do. And there's so much pride in broadcasting. And I was asked who my inspiration was to get me started in play-by-play, and once I say the name, a lot of Chicago people are very familiar with him. His name is Jim Durham, former voice of the Bulls for many, many years. I was so hooked on listening to him and Johnny Kerr call Bulls games, and I went into this industry with a simple philosophy: if they can do it, so can I. And my first game came at Chicago State University in 1995 off of an idea. Just purely off of an idea. And my friend Kevin checked out a camera, and I said, "Can you attach a microphone to that?" And he said, "Sure." And with only a roster, that was my first game. And I also had a chance to meet a fellow who became my first mentor in the game. Of course, the recently retired Mr. Bill Baker. And y'all will see that interview that we did at a later date. But man, once you get into the industry and you meet the right people, you are locked in, because they're ready to give you advice. They're ready to help you move forward. And I am so proud of you, my man, with all the calls that you've done, all the games that you've done, including the recent one at the Carrier Dome in Syracuse. Let me ask, how much fun was it to be there and to see that building and just be around the Syracuse Orangemen? Of course, I'm using the old name, but how much fun was it to cover? How much fun was it to cover a game there?
That was a surreal experience, Brian. Very, very lucky to have that experience, and I have to give a big thank you to Tony Simeone, who's now the voice of Notre Dame men's basketball. He's been a really big advocate for me as well. And this past season, any game that he happened to be out for another obligation, he really recommended me to the Notre Dame athletic department and was able to fill in for 3 games. But no question, the one at Syracuse was the most special of all of them. And, it was a wild game. Notre Dame was down by 29 with 2 minutes left in the first half. And they went on a 9-0 run to close out the first half. Ended up getting within 3 points. But Syracuse held on, and it was actually Jim Boeheim Day as well.
Yeah.
So Jim Boeheim was being honored after the game, and the Fighting Irish, they came so close to ruining his day, which, would have been a lot of fun. But it was cool to see that as well, because actually after the game ended, I was sitting out there doing the post-game show, and out walks Mike Tirico, who, of course, is a Syracuse alum.
Yep.
And he was emceeing the festivities for Jim Boeheim Day. So it was awesome to see Mike Tirico out there and all the, so many Syracuse alums that have, gone on to great careers in broadcasting. But, that was a special environment. Obviously, the largest stadium that I've ever had the chance to broadcast in. And, I'm really thankful to Notre Dame men's basketball, and watch out for them, Brian. I mean, they had a losing record this year, but Coach Micah Shrewsbury, he's got some exciting young talent, a young man named Marcus Burden who just won ACC Freshman of the Year, and then his son Braden Shrewsbury as well. They've got a foundation building there in South Bend, so I think Coach Shrewsbury is going to have them in the NCAA tournament before you know it down the line.
Connor Clingan joining us here on the program, telling some broadcast stories. What you got coming up next, man?
I actually have a little bit of a break here. My most recent job that I had was this past weekend. I was doing some baseball at UIC. That was a lot of fun. It's a great ballpark, Curtis Granderson Stadium. One of the best views in college baseball. I would say the best, because you've got an incredible view of the Chicago skyline from the near west side. So I had the chance to call 3 games at UIC this past weekend, and I'm going to be on some baseball and softball for the Flames this spring, and also be doing Notre Dame Boston College baseball coming up in April. And then when we get to May, that's when the Cougars will start up again, and I'm really looking forward to coming back this season, working with Joe Brand. It's going to be great.
Well, I'm looking forward to listening to you and keeping up with your progress. I love you very much, brother, and thank you for coming on the program. That's Connor Clingan, play-by-play announcer in my hometown of Chicago. Check out the Kane County Cougars beginning in May, and that's where you will hear this fabulous voice. Thank you, my brother, so much for coming on. I love you. I love your progress, and I can't wait to see more of it.
I love you too, Snowman. Thank you very much for everything. Like I said at the beginning, that opportunity at St. Joe's, it meant a lot to me. It got me started after college. So it means so much to me. I'm very thankful, and thanks very much for having me on.
Let's take a break, and when we come back, we got some more stuff for you coming up for you. I thought I'd said that right. All our guests appear via the Invader Coffee hotline. Invader Coffee, fuel for the fearless. We got more for you back after this.
Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here.
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
If you talk and they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So tell me here, you can do it if you try.
He was only 58 years old when he passed away. That outcome could have been different.
Colorado happens to be one of the worst states for radon levels.
It's in our ground, and it seeps up.
The more you breathe radon, the more chance you have of DNA being hit and the cell mutated. The EPA estimates 22,000 lung cancer deaths a year caused by radon.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
You have fun. Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Mister? How do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
You're inside Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson, along with the big dog Shane Lake and Victor Locke himself. And I got a little visitor during that last break as Winnie decided to join us and fall asleep in my lap. All right, gentlemen. I don't know where to start. Do we start with Derrick Henry? Or do we want to start with DeAndre Swift? No.
Derrick Henry. I would say neither, because I want to know what in the world was Atlanta thinking, taking on none other than Kirk Two Chainz Cousins.
4 years. What's it? 180 million?
4 years for Kirk Two Chainz Cousins,
who's going to be 36, coming off of look at.
See, I agree.
Okay, I agree as well. I agree with it. Okay, Victor, thanks for climbing in my head. Kirk Two Chainz Cousins gets a 4-year, $180 million deal, and I forgot how much of it was guaranteed.
I think like 90 a year or something like that, or somewhere close to that.
The Atlanta Falcons, a near 36-year-old quarterback, gets another mega deal, and we still don't know how good Kirk Cousins can be in the postseason.
We won't find out either.
No, we won't.
Yeah, I know how good he is.
Now
Atlanta's going to get their crap rocked. Let's be real here.
Yes.
And let me ask you something. If Kirk Cousins actually scores a touchdown, we're going to see the geriatric bird for a celebration?
I have no idea. I
think that bird got cooked
heavily.
Man, oh my gosh,
this is ridiculous. Not like he's going to be of much help.
It is.
Like what weapon? We add on what weapons Russell Wilson have. What weapons is Kirk Cousins going to have?
Okay, wait a minute.
None.
Do you think Atlanta? Here's a question. No, here's a question. None of the mainstream media will ask. Do you think the Atlanta Falcons waved the white flag after they signed Kirk Cousins?
Yes.
They waved the check.
That's what I want to know. Do you think Atlanta has waved the white flag after signing Kirk Cousins?
Checkered flag. Let's get it right. They're done.
Yep.
Let's be real. Let's be real here. There's no weapons in Atlanta ever since they got rid of after they got rid of Julio Jones. They haven't had a running game in how long?
Mm-hmm.
And now they bring in, of all people, all the quarterbacks they could have grabbed. 2 Chains. Really? Really? This is about as bad a move as Logan Paul's prime sponsoring the LA Lakers.
Fair enough.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
that happened too.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it did.
Like we didn't have a big enough reason not to like the Lakers. LeBron!
We'll get to that later.
We will definitely get to that later. Now, in Minnesota, in the 6 years in Minnesota, 4 of those 6 he threw for 4,000 yards. 18, 20, 21, and 22. And of course, the last 2 years he had Justin Jefferson. With Washington in 2016, he led the league in passing yards with just under 5,000, 49-17.
He had weapons in Washington.
He had weapons in Washington. I guess they brought him in to connect with Kyle Pitts and Drake London and running back Bijan Robinson, who they drafted out of Texas. If Bijan Robinson ever quits fumbling and holds on to the ball,
he needs some pine tar on those gloves.
Then he'd be a feature back.
Yeah.
So they're expected, and Kirk Cousins is indeed a veteran. All right, let's give him that. But I heard this morning, I've heard again. I heard it yesterday morning while I was driving to get Sonya, and I heard it again this morning while I was on my way to wound care. And I went to wound care early, folks. They expect Atlanta to win 10 games.
10?
Listen, they were 7-10 with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke.
They must be counting how bad the South is.
They were 7-10 with those two.
What's going to be sad is Atlanta might get at least 8 wins, and they'll still end up winning the division because of how bad the South sucks.
Yeah, I'm about to say the only reason why they think this is going to get 10 wins because of how bad the NFC South is. That's the only reason.
That division,
because there's no way in God's green creation you could tell me that Kirk 2 Chainz Cousins is going to win 10 games in any division.
Nope.
You know what? He's only won 10 games twice in his career, and both of those came with Minnesota. 10-5 in 2019 and 13-4 last year.
And that was one of those years. That's when Green Bay still had Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
2019.
That's actually when the NFC North was actually halfway stacked.
Fair enough.
And decent.
Fair enough.
And decent.
So look at that mountain that fell apart.
Let's stay in the NFC North. So Kirk Cousins leaves Minnesota. Aaron Jones, released by the Packers, signs with the Vikings. But the Vikings still have a major hole to fill. Let me go to Victor first. Aaron Rodgers goes from Green Bay to
Aaron
Minnesota.
Jones.
Aaron Jones.
Yeah, that was a spite move by the Vikings.
Really?
I think it is. I think it was like, yeah, you dropped them, we're gonna pick them right up. Because the thing is, with most Green Bay Packer fans, as much as I've known them, and I am friends with a few of them.
So am I.
What they don't like is when someone takes someone from their team but stays in the division. They would have rioted in the streets if Aaron Rodgers decided to go to either Detroit or Chicago.
Oh God.
I
don't even want to think about that.
If Aaron Rodgers stayed in the NFC North but just wasn't with the Packers, they would have rioted in the street. So they were glad when he went to the Jets.
Yeah,
this probably even
Green Bay would no longer exist.
This was a spite move by the Vikings. Like let's
the Packers have to move to Milwaukee.
Right. Let's get something out of this deal. Now that we've lost 2 Chainz, let's get someone else. And they got Aaron Jones for a steal too.
Yeah, they did.
True.
For a steal.
They did.
So I'm like, people in Green Bay are not happy.
I'll do a double weigh in here. Back to 2 Chainz Cousins. Atlanta is paying him for 4 years and $180 million for 1 playoff win. And that was a wild card win against the New Orleans Saints in the 2019 season. And the next year, he got obliterated. In the next week, I beg your pardon. He got obliterated in Santa Clara.
Didn't he get sacked like 6 times that game?
6
I
times.
think so.
6 times. Bosa had 2 of them. Eric Armstead, who was released by the 49ers to save a cap hit, had a pair. But 2 Chainz, you're old. And you're not going to do much in Atlanta.
You're old and you're bad.
Aaron Jones to the Vikings. That's the good news. The bad news, who's going to be their quarterback?
Right.
Who the hell's going to be their quarterback?
That's another one we don't want to sit in on.
I don't see a free agent going to Minnesota. I think they're going to wind up drafting a quarterback.
They might.
They'll have to at this point.
They have no choice.
I see Minnesota drafting a quarterback and starting completely over with that offense, which is very capable of being a dangerous offense because Justin Jefferson is still there. You now have Aaron Jones, who can be that what's the term I often use, Victor? That bell cow running back for them.
Yep.
They can be that bell cow running back for them. But who the hell is going to be their quarterback? How do you solve that piece of the puzzle when you let go of a quarterback that spent 6 years with you, but did nothing in the postseason? Except one way, and I already know, but he got a playoff win. Yeah, a playoff win.
A playoff win that meant nothing.
A playoff win. It's a big difference between several playoff wins like you get with Joe Montana and a playoff win that you get with 2 Chainz Cousins. Big difference, folks.
You know who Minnesota's going to have as their quarterback? Sam Darnold.
I see it.
Huh?
I see it.
You don't have to see it. It happened. He got signed for 1 year.
Oh, wait. Yeah, he did.
Sam Darnold signed.
He sure did.
Sam Darnold's with Minnesota. Yes, he is.
He is.
He sure Sam
did.
Darnold's with Minnesota for a year.
So now Sam Darnold is their starting well, right in the middle of the show. I got my question answered. Sam Darnold signed with the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, I got the free agent moves all over my phone, man. I'm on this today.
I'll look at it too.
How will that work?
Well,
tell me how that will work.
I don't know if it'll be playoff worthy, but
I don't either.
It'll be at least contention worthy.
How many wins is Sam Darnold worth?
7. I'll give him 7.
I might give him 8. Might being the operative word. I might give him 8. Simply because he can turn and hand the ball to someone who's trustworthy now in Aaron Jones. Simply because
he can get the ball downfield to Justin Jefferson, or I forget that other receiver's name. Yeah, his name is escaping me. He's out of Oregon. I know that, but I can't think of his name right now. But you got tight end TJ Hawkinson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I could give him 8 wins. Hell, I could give him 9. Could being the operative word. But for this offense to click, he's got to get that. He's got to know that playbook backwards and forwards, and he's got to do that fast.
I'm giving him 6. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Why only 6 wins?
I just don't see that team coming together behind Sam Darnold. I just don't see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
And even with Aaron Jones there, that goes from 5 to 6. So instead of 5 bleeping wins, it'd be 6 bleeping wins.
Jordan Addison is the other receiver I was thinking of.
Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Same.
I just don't see that offense coming together like they think it's going to happen.
I don't see it either.
And I don't like their schedule through teams they've got. At home, they've got Chicago, Detroit, Green Bay, Arizona, San Fran, Houston, Indy, Atlanta, and the Jets. And on the road, they got, obviously, Chicago, Detroit, Green Bay, the Rams, the Seahawks, Jacksonville, Tennessee, and the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
So they get to go visit the team that knocked them out of the playoffs 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And one of these games on January 11th is going to be part of the International Series in London. Well, they announced it, so it's going to be later in the year, yeah.
Paul Allen's going to have a fit.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Now,
Paul Allen is going to have now we always tease Paul Allen, but I love Paul Allen and the way he calls games, man.
Yep.
But Paul Allen's going to have a fit.
No, he is. He is.
He's going to have a fit.
And I really don't see them taking either game from Chicago or Detroit.
No, I don't either.
Nor do I. Nor do I.
They might get one of the two against Green Bay, but after that, you're 50-50 the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And they have to see the defending NFC champion 49ers at home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy.
I don't like that.
Not like that either.
Oh, boy. This is the second year the 49ers have to travel to Minnesota. I will say this aloud. Minnesota got lucky last year.
Yeah, they did.
This past season, Minnesota got lucky. They only beat us by 5, and they were up by 12 against us. Thank you, Christian McCaffrey, for keeping us in the game. But, man, you know what? I'm looking at this schedule right. I'm looking at their opponents right now. They haven't released the schedule yet. They'll do that in May.
Mm-hmm.
And when the schedule comes out, and when we expand the show even further, folks, we're going to go over every single scheduled game. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
How much you want to bet that 49ers game is either a Sunday night game or a Monday night game?
If they're smart, it's a Sunday nighter.
I was going to say Monday, but I do see Sunday also being a really good idea. I see that
being – it's going to be a prime time game. It'll be a prime time game.
Yeah.
I'll give you one better. How about it being a Thursday night game?
Nah.
Hell no.
Nah, I don't see that.
Minnesota San Fran on a Thursday night. That'd be an interesting.
Hell no.
That'd be like an interesting week 3, week 4 game.
No. Hell no.
Most people are not going to really watch that game. At least I don't think so.
I hate saying that. And I'm one of the chief 49er insiders, not to mention one of its biggest fans. I don't want to see that on Thursday night.
It's the NFL.
Even though they could wind up doing it anyway, like Shane said.
It's the NFL.
It's the NFL, and they could wind up doing it anyway. I totally get get that. But they could mess around and make their game against either, and it'll be a home game that they put on Thursday night. It'll be either against Detroit or, as strange as this is going to sound, the Indianapolis Colts.
I would see Indy quicker than Detroit. Keep the divisional games for like Sunday.
Yeah. Or they could put a divisional game like they did with the Vikings and the Bears on Monday night.
No, they could.
They could do that.
They could do that. They absolutely could do that. Free agency talk is the name of the game, and you're inside of the second hour of Snowman in the Morning. Let's pause for a break, and when we come back, we're going to the Windy City. DeAndre Swift has a new home. Problem is, Justin Fields is still their quarterback after this.
Woof.
Attention sports fans, looking for the ultimate gear and apparel to show your team pride? Look no further than Fanatics, the #1 destination for sports enthusiasts. Visit snowmanmultimediasports.com today and shop a wide selection of officially licensed merchandise from your favorite teams and players. From jerseys to hats to accessories to collectibles, Fanatics has it all. Don't miss out on the chance to elevate your game day experience. Head over to snowmanmultimediasports.com/fanatics and gear up like a true fan with Fanatics. Officially licensed everything.
Mister? How do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Pick up the Snowman in the Morning podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey, wherever you consume your podcasts. Hey, listen, March Madness is upon us. The NHL and NBA are in action as well. Major League Baseball is on the way. And if you want the best betting action, BetUS.com is the way to go. The sportsbook is celebrating their 30th year with the best action at the best time. Log on to BETUS.com. Use the code Snowman for a 125% deposit match. BetUS.com, where the game begins. All right, gentlemen. Let's go to the Windy City.
Oh crap.
Here we go. I'm waiting for this.
It's a good news, bad news kind of thing. The good news is the Bears seem to have found the bell cow running back in DeAndre Swift. The bad news is Justin Fields is still their quarterback for now.
The worst news is how they're going to use him.
The horrific news is they're going to underutilize him.
Probably worse than Philly did.
You think?
Again,
end of the day, who was the Bears' offensive coordinator? Let's start there. Who was the Bears' offensive coordinator?
Eberfools.
That's a head coach.
Oh, that's a head coach. Now I have no idea who it is.
Because after Luke Getsy got the boot,
right?
I haven't paid attention to who their offensive coordinator is going to be.
Neither have I.
Is it really going to matter?
No. Okay.
No.
I have a better question. What are they lying
at? I'll give you a better question. Who wants the job?
Ooh. Yeah. Woof.
Where's their line at? What are you going to do? What is DeAndre Swift going to do with that porous offensive line? If Justin Fields can't do anything with it, what is he going to do?
First running back to have negative yardage all year?
Because
that front seven can't block worth a damn.
Exactly.
What did he play? One season in Philadelphia? DeAndre Swift?
One season. He
played one season in Philadelphia. And then they told him adios.
They mismanaged him so bad, and chances are they said we're not going to chance another year. We'll just go ahead and ride with Jalen Hurts.
Dear God,
and Jalen's going to get screwed over this year badly.
Yep.
They don't have a chance to get a running game in Philadelphia.
Dear God, no. No, no, and no.
Jalen's going to end up getting his legs screwed out from underneath him and blown up by week 12.
Let's look at the Bears' opponents. DeAndre Swift at home sees the Lions, the Packers, the Vikings. He'll also see the Rams, the Seahawks, the Jaguars, the Titans, the Panthers, and the Patriots. Away, they go to Detroit. They go to Green Bay. They go to Minnesota. Then they go to Arizona, to San Francisco, to Houston, to Indianapolis, and to the Washington Redskins. So they see the AFC South and the NFC West this year. With the addition of DeAndre Swift, and I'll go to Victor first for this breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
How many wins do you see for the Bears?
With DeAndre Swift, as good as he is, I could say 7. As good as Jared Swift, I can only see 7. Only because, again, that line is not doing them no favors. You could get the best running back out there. If the line can't run and block for him and can't produce those lanes and cut off the seams, what difference does it make? Same thing with your quarterback. Your quarterback could be one of the best quarterbacks in the world. If they can't keep him upright, what's the point? And I don't see the Bears front line doing anything about it. I don't see the Bears front office doing anything about it. We've been screaming about this for how many years, Snowman?
Quite a few. I can say since 2010.
The only thing that made me change my mind is if they say they get rid of Eberflus and they bring back Lovie Smith. Because at least with Lovie Smith, I know they will utilize him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when they had Thomas Jones and Cedric Benson.
Exactly. At least I know that they will get off the bus running and they'll actually do what they're supposed to do. Until then, I don't see it.
I don't see it either. I don't even give them 7 wins. I give them 5.
I can see it.
I'll go
with the 5 wins because you're playing San Francisco at Levi's.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing the Colts at Lucas Oil.
Those are L's.
Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota.
Minnesota, those are L's.
And they see those teams twice. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Unless the Bears develop a mindset that they're going to get off the bus running, and I don't see it because they're so proud, quote unquote, of Justin Fields.
Too proud.
I see 5 wins.
I'll
make a bold prediction right now, and y'all are going to laugh at me at this. And I want y'all to catch the joke within. Carolina will beat them.
I can see it. I can see it.
That's a sad thing. So can I.
Yeah, same here.
I can see Carolina getting better than Chicago because, again, that line is so garbage.
What's worse is I see New England actually losing to Chicago.
You know what? I got one better. That game will wind up in a tie.
Probably.
Yeah.
Again, you know what Victor said when we did our predictions last year, when the schedule came out, we did them immediately. And I said Arizona and the Bears may end up in a tie. I will never forget Victor screaming at me in anger. He said, no. He said, no, they have to beat the Cardinals. And I was adamant too, but I was also trying not to laugh. I said, that game just may end up in a tie. I will never forget Victor's response. If that game ends in a tie, throw the whole season away.
And I stick by that. I stick by that. If we can't prove that we're better than Kyler, Call of Booty Murray, throw the whole season away.
Booty!
Okay, so what happens if they tie New England? Do you throw the whole season away then?
For both teams.
Yes. Yeah,
I can't argue.
For both teams. I'm sorry, but Gerard Mayo is going to have to come up with some magic in New England, depending on who we end up drafting for a quarterback. And I'm sorry, right now, we don't even have weaponry for any quarterback to use. So good luck with that.
Staying with Chicago and the Bears. I don't see them using DeAndre Swift.
I don't either.
As the well-cow running back that he needs to be used as. He played at Georgia, for God's sakes. And they ran the hell out of him, and he got stronger with each game that got longer.
I'll give you a prediction right now when it comes to him. He won't see 1,000 yards.
Honestly, I'll put a prediction. He won't see 500.
He'll see 500.
I don't see it.
Shane Waldron is the offensive coordinator for the Bears after spending 3 seasons with the Seattle Seahawks as their offensive coordinator. That should tell you everything you need to know. I hate saying it. No, I don't hate saying it that way. I'm going to say it that way. Shane Waldron is the offensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears. That should tell you everything. After spending 3 seasons with the Seattle Seahawks, that should tell you everything you need to know.
I'm gonna just put it like this, and I'll say it until kickoff of this coming year. You think that he'll see 500? He'll see 500 yards with what line?
Good question.
With what offensive line?
Good point. Good question. And
I just can't see it now. With how bad that they can't, how bad they've done try and protect Justin Fields. It's a crap show. It's a crap show in Chicago.
And with 2 Chainz going to Atlanta, Russell Wilson going to Pittsburgh, which takes 2 potential landing spots off the board for Justin Fields.
Right.
And all of the swirling talk about them drafting Caleb Williams.
Well, he wasn't going to go nowhere anyway.
Yeah, they did it for trade capital.
Yep.
He wasn't going nowhere anyway. They were not, because
and you can take the Giants off the board because the Giants signed Drew Lock to a 1-year deal. So the Giants are off the board.
That wasn't even the funniest signing I saw.
The Bills are off the board.
The Bills are off the board. That's crazy. I thought the Bills would be a
good
Mitch Trubisky back in Buffalo as a backup to Josh Allen back in Buffalo.
Yep.
Here's the thing I see. Here's the thing about Justin Fields. I think they rushed him into the starting role way too early.
Yes, they did.
Yep.
I think they rushed him into the starting role way too early. Of course, injuries played a part of it. Inconsistency at the quarterback position played a part of it. And I understand that. But you're rushing a guy who's very, very raw still to this day. And it's been 3 years.
Yep.
He's not fully developed, and he ain't going to get fully developed in Chicago. I'm sorry.
No, he's not. And that's go ahead, Shane.
I was about to say the only way Chicago would have a better line is if they borrowed the team I had on Madden.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'd probably be it.
That would be it.
And that wasn't even the funniest.
Be it.
That wasn't even the funniest thing I saw in the tracker.
Oh gosh.
The funniest signing that I saw in the tracker was 2 states east of Illinois. I'm talking, of course, about Cleveland.
Oh, God.
Cleveland Browns signed for 1 year Mr. 30 for 30 himself,
Jameis Winston.
Jameis Crab Legs Winston.
Jameis Winston.
I howled with laughter. I howled.
Yeah, right.
Tell me how the hell. Okay, you go from the albatross contract of Deshaun Watson. Joe Flacco rescues your team and takes you to the playoffs.
Right.
And then you sign Famous Jameis to a 1-year deal. How long before Famous Jameis sees the field?
He doesn't.
That's wishfully. I would hope he doesn't. But honestly, I'm seeing him probably week 4.
We always talk about bold predictions. I say Jameis Winston starts the season.
Oof. A lot of bad things have to happen if that were the case.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
You really think they're going to sit down? You really think they're going to sit down Deshaun over this?
Yep.
Deshaun can get hurt again.
Deshaun's arm.
Oh, yeah.
Lack thereof.
Exactly.
Jesus, I can't believe I'm going to do this.
No, don't you dare.
Here we go.
I won't do it. I won't do it.
But no, the problem I see with Jameis being there is, again, what is he bringing to the table? What is he bringing to the table?
Crab legs.
Oh, Shane got an idea.
No, I don't. I'm trying to think what he brings to the table, and I got nothing.
There you go.
I got nothing. I don't have a thing.
It's time they actually see if Deshaun's got it or not, because we know he got injured for most of this past year. This is a put up or shut up year for Deshaun Watson. And even though they are in an albatross of a contract, they're gonna have to find a way out of it if he cannot produce this year.
Okay, what if he's not allowed to produce? Let me just say that aloud.
Like I said, they gotta find a way to get out of it.
How? They can't.
Your guess is good as mine. They have to find a way out of it because
it's a fully guaranteed contract.
Find an idiot team to trade him to.
Carolina?
Dallas?
No. And oh no, you are not bringing that beast over to Dallas.
Where's the Bishop when we need him? Give me the Bishop on that one. Give me the Bishop.
Hell no, to the no, no, no. Hell to the no, hell to the no, to the no, no, no.
I can't see that either. I can't. I simply can't.
Nope.
No.
Hell to the no. I can't see it. I can't see it. Oh my gosh.
That hurt my head. Just the thought of that hurt my head.
I'm a Patriots fan and that hurt my head.
Seattle maybe they're desperate enough. They are desperate enough. New Orleans.
New Orleans hasn't made any moves at all during this free agency. They need to do something.
There's one.
None.
There's one possible.
No, not really, because Famous Jameis was with New Orleans for the past 2 years. So what Shane is essentially saying, send him back.
Well, either that or send him to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
To the Rams.
Oh, God.
Or the Chargers.
Hell no. Hell no.
Yeah, your guess is good as mine, but that was the funniest one I saw. Speaking of Dallas.
Oh, gosh. Here we go. Yes,
whether they took a hit or not is anybody's guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever running ability we had is now gone. Tony Pollard is sent to the Titans for 3 years and $24 million.
Titans had to do something.
Oops.
So what this says to me
is that they waved the white flag.
Besides that, what this says to me is that they're draft bound. They're going to try and pick up everything they can through the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I said that whether it's a loss or not is because what did Tony Pollard really do in Dallas anyway?
Jack.
Exactly.
Nothing.
I mean, you might as well have been an empty roster space.
Yep, nothing.
So I'm going to say like this. Tony Pollard, good riddance. Good riddance to bad rubbish, because I didn't see him doing much of anything there.
Me neither.
So I'm like,
Me neither.
If we can get someone running back out the draft, that'd be better.
Pat Ruffino coming up. We're talking all kinds of free agency and schedules here on Snowman in the Morning on this Wednesday. The home opponents go Giants, Redskins, Eagles, Saints, Buccaneers, and Lions. Those are the NFC opponents. The AFC will include the Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, and the Houston Texans. They're on the road. The Cowboys will play on the road. They play their divisional opponents, of course, the Giants, the Redskins, and the Eagles. They see Atlanta. They see Carolina. They see Pittsburgh. They see Cleveland. And yes, for the second consecutive year, they go to Santa Clara.
Someone in the scheduling department does not like us. Someone in the scheduling department just does not like Cowboys.
Someone in the scheduling department's got a thing for whooping all y'all's asses when it comes down to schedule.
Exactly.
Because you guys got screwed.
We must have had too easy of a schedule last year because this is terrible.
Just plain terrible.
You see Baltimore at home. That's one division.
That's
champion.
A loss.
You see the Detroit Lions at home. That's another
loss.
division champion.
That's
you see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's another division champion. And those are all at home.
Dub. That should be a dub.
That
it should be. It may not be. I said it should.
There's your 50-50 game.
Yes.
Yep. The other division champion, y'all see them on the road, is the defending NFC champion in San Francisco.
That's a loss.
You're screwed.
Will
You're
that
screwed.
Will that be another Sunday night game?
Now, will it be better than week 5 of this past year? That's the question.
No.
God, no.
No running game.
Well, there you go.
I'll settle that right now. No running game.
We didn't have one to begin with, so.
Meanwhile, you have the 49ers that are making all kinds of improvements across the board.
Greed.
That is not greed.
Greed.
Whatever do you mean, sir?
We know how greedy the 49ers have been. In the past 2 years, the past 2 free agencies, the 49ers have been like a mafia. They have picked and chose their spots so doggone well.
He said like a mafia.
They knew exactly who to grab and exactly how to grab them to make them what they are.
You know, the first time Victor said that to me was late night on a Thursday when the deal happened. Of course, I'm talking about the one for Christian McCaffrey. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk all things 49ers for the next segment, and then Pat Ruffino will join me to talk all things United Football League and free agency, and then we'll put a bow on this puppy. Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson, with the Big Dog and Vicala back in the deuce.
Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby.
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Pick'ems. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube. Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying. But this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Bobby J and Wise El Jefe, Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Back at it with the big dog and with Victor Locke, Snowman here. And this portion is brought to you by Embedded Coffee, fuel for the fearless.
Now
All
you
right.
were talking about scheduling a minute ago, and Vic,
Yes,
you
I
thought
was.
the Cowboys' schedule was bad.
Oh,
I
no.
got New England up,
I'll
and
follow
I'm
you.
not. I got
follow Oh,
no
boy.
liking of this. All right,
Okay.
as we know, we got the divisional games: Buffalo, Miami, and the Jets. Those are the home and homes. Here's the 5 home games out of the division: Houston, Indy, the Rams, Seattle, and the Chargers at home.
Ooh, that's a
Woof.
gauntlet. That's a gauntlet.
I'll go worse on the road. Arizona, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Cincinnati, Chicago, and Snowman. I'm going to tie it in with you because we're heading out west.
Santa Clara.
Yep. You tell me the season we're going to have.
Okay, can I be brutally honest?
When the hell aren't you?
That's a good point. That's a valid point.
I see 4 wins at most.
You're more optimistic than I am.
What do
Yeah.
you see? 2?
3.
3? Which 3?
Honestly, more than likely, I see Chicago being one of our 50-50 games.
Yeah.
That's going to be big.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly Arizona.
Yeah.
Depending on how that goes.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm torn between Jacksonville on the road or possibly the Seahawks, depending on how they come in.
Yeah, because we don't know the dates and the times yet. We just know
Right.
the opponents.
Exactly.
They won't release the dates and the times until later on this year.
After the draft, easily.
Yep. The
But-
other win that I see, and I forgot another division champion, Houston. I totally forgot about that with the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. That's
The
not a
other
loss.
win, and I'm not torn. I see them beating Arizona. I do not see Arizona improving this year at all.
No.
I don't.
I don't
Nope.
see it. They got so much luck on their side the tail end of the season and beating the Eagles and a few other teams. The other win that I see could possibly be at Tennessee in Nashville.
I could see that. I could see that mainly because Tennessee no longer has a running game.
Yep.
And who do they have at quarterback now?
Will Levis.
Who?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Leave it there.
They were better off with Mariota.
They were much better off with Marcus Mariota. Speaking of running game, Derrick Henry is now signed with the Baltimore Ravens.
As
There's
if they
12
couldn't be
there's
more
12
dangerous.
wins.
Yep.
There's 12 wins.
As if they couldn't be more dangerous on the
As if
ground.
you want to talk about greedy? There you go. But I'm happy for Derrick.
I am too.
I'm happy he got the hell out of Tennessee because they were pushing the button. They were pushing the plunger and blowing that team up.
And
That's been in the works for 3 years.
Yeah,
it has. It's been in the
unfortunately-
works since they lost to Kansas City in the AFC Championship game.
Exactly. And unfortunately, Derrick Henry had really it was him and nobody else.
Yeah.
Facts.
So
yeah,
he needed a fresh start. And why not go to a team that was 2 wins away from a Super Bowl?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Lost out divisional round? I
No,
mean,
AFC Championship.
oh yeah, it's you're right.
championship.
It's the championship. So they were 1 win away. So now what you have, and you have a much better, more consistent, keyword Cowboys fans, consistent running game with Derrick
only-
Henry.
The only reason the Ravens lost that game was the fact they didn't have a running game. Lamar Jackson tried to do too much.
Exactly.
And they took the Chiefs took the running game away from them.
Exactly. Derrick Henry is harder to stop than anything Baltimore's had recently.
Yep, including J.K. Dobbins. And
Easily.
I love J.K. Dobbins. Love J.K. Dobbins. Thing with Baltimore running backs lately, they have to stay healthy.
Yeah.
That turf monster's evil down in Baltimore.
It is, man. It is. This portion of the show brought to you by Invader Coffee. They aim to serve only the highest quality organic air-roasted coffee beans sourced from free trade farms all over the world. The best coffee and an affordable price. Log on to invadercoffee.com. Place your order. Use the code Snowman for 15% off your order. Invader Coffee, fuel for the fearless. As we talk all things free agency, we're looking at Derrick Henry's move to Baltimore. And I'm going to say this. Derrick Henry to Baltimore solidifies an already dangerous running game because remember, going into the AFC Championship, they were the leading rushing team. They were the top rushing team in the NFL, averaging 156 yards per game.
And how many of those yards came from Lamar Jackson?
I'd say about 100 of them.
Had to be. Had to be.
Really,
I mean,
he was due for at least 80 per game, at least.
Yeah. And how many did he have against Kansas City?
He didn't have much.
No,
because they made him a one-dimensional quarterback.
Yes,
exactly.
It did. Especially at the half.
And in the divisional game against who was it? Houston that they had?
Yes.
Yeah. Didn't he go off for over 100? I think it was like 110, 120 for yardage.
Yeah. Yeah, he had 110 yards.
There you go.
Man,
this takes load off of them.
It does.
It really does.
It does.
But yet again, that's also going to make Baltimore more dangerous because now all the RPOs, he can either do it himself or give it to Henry.
And that's what's scary.
It is. When you have basically two running backs and one with a 60-yard cannon for an arm.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Yeah, it makes Baltimore that much more dangerous.
They may end up making it to the big game. They may actually clear the hurdle that is the Kansas City Chiefs.
We shall see. We shall see. The team
Maybe
that Baltimore was supposed to face in the Super Bowl, the 49ers, made some moves. Unfortunately, they got rid of the last original piece of their defense in Eric Armstead. They released him as a free agent to save $18 million on a cap hit. And they went deep in free agency on the defensive side. They signed Leonard Floyd on a 2-year deal and Yetur Gross-Matos, formerly of the Carolina Panthers.
Who?
I'll explain in a minute. Given the amount of free agents they have along the defensive line, Floyd, the Niners get a durable, accomplished pass rusher who has 58 career sacks, including a career-high 10.5 last year, who is familiar with assistant coach Brandon Staley and their time together with the Rams and the Chicago Bears. He should step in immediately and provide more pass rush punch opposite Nick Bosa than what the Niners got in 2023. And I agree with that.
I was about to say Bosa's going to get some help.
Oh, he's going to get a lot of help because not only did Eric Armstead go, but Javon Kinlaw, who was a valuable backup, signed a 1-year deal with the Jets.
Right.
So bringing in, and here's the other defensive player that Shane had a question about. Yetur Gross-Matos, the defensive end, also signed to a 2-year deal. The Niners not only wanted to add help on the defensive line, but needed to because of so many players scheduled for free agency. And after they agreed to their deal with Leonard Floyd, they struck again with Yetur Gross-Matos, who can move around on the offensive line. So there is the flexibility that the Niners are looking for in that defense. And Nick Sorensen, the hope is that Floyd and Gross-Matos can complement each other well enough to provide stable and consistent production opposite Bosa. It's a different approach than the Niners' recent history than going for the big splash as they did with Javon Kinlaw. But Javon Hargrave, I beg your pardon. Javon Hargrave, but it offers much needed depth in case of injuries. Now, I wanted to look at that. When Eric Armstead went down for 5 games for San Francisco, they were thin along the defensive line. Now they're getting stacked again. Now they're getting stacked again like they did in 2019 with line after line after line. And this is the method that the 49ers have always taken, especially during the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch era. They seek defense first, and they've gotten back to that.
Mm-hmm.
How big are these 2 signings? Let me go to you first, Victor. How big are these 2 signings for San Francisco to help get them the depth that they need along the defensive line?
Well, what did I say before? Like a mafia. They knew exactly who they needed. Here's the thing about the Niners, that if you're a Niners fan, you find so refreshing, but if you're not a Niners fan, you find so frustrating. They know exactly what holes they need to fill, and they find the best personnel to fill them.
Yeah.
Every single time. It's why I always say they're greedy, because it's like you already have a near perfect team, but you're like, I could tweak a couple more spots. I could tweak a couple more positions and make the team even better. And you're like, dude, come on. Let someone else have a little bit of shine, please.
Yeah.
But no, these are very big signs, particularly on the defensive line, which is something that the Niners have needed a little bit of help at. They're just nothing to sneeze at, but they need some more pass rush. They need some more getting pressure on the quarterback, because some of the games that the Niners lost was just due to no pressure on the quarterback not being scared.
Cleveland.
Exactly.
Cleveland, Cincinnati, Minnesota couldn't get pressure on them at all. And they also signed former Cleveland Brown Jordan Elliott to a 1-year deal, which also helps their run defense. And anybody who's watched my coverage of the 49ers this past year knows I harped on the run defense all year long. It was so wobbly. It was very wobbly. Now you get someone stable with Jordan Elliott. There's a chance DJ Jones could come back to San Francisco. We don't know. Free agency is just getting started. Let me come to Shane here. With all these defensive signings for San Francisco, including Jordan Elliott, how strong does it make them just as strong as they were even a couple of years ago?
I got 2 words: Kansas City. We'll see you in New Orleans.
I like that sentence.
Because of the fact of what they're able to provide now with the run, with the not just the run defense, but the pass defense.
Yeah.
You got to figure that was where the game changed in the Super Bowl, was pass defense.
Yes.
And because they couldn't get a bigger rush on that man, Mahomes, he burned them late.
He did.
They were 3 seconds away from winning that game, and they couldn't get it done because of pass defense.
Yeah, that lack of a pass rush cost the 49ers in overtime.
Because
Mahomes
they shut
down.
They shut down Bosa. Now there's 2 more weapons you need to worry about. You can't shut down all 3.
Right.
And the other thing is the Niners need to find a linebacker to replace Dre Greenlaw, who's lost for part of the season because he tore his Achilles in the Super Bowl. So that'll be the final piece of that puzzle, is to get some linebacking help. We're talking free agency here on the program. Patrick Queen is now out of Baltimore, and he is headed to Pittsburgh. What?
Why? Just why? Just why?
Yeah.
What?
I
What
don't know.
blockhead in the front office made that move?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I have no idea.
What knucklehead? That's a knucklehead move.
Baltimore's defense was strong, man.
Yes. What was the point?
And now this?
That's a bonehead move.
It's a 3-year, $41 million deal for one of the stars of the Baltimore Ravens defense. He's averaging roughly, this is Patrick Queen, averaging roughly $13.7 million per season through 26. That makes him the 7th highest paid linebacker in the NFL and the richest so far in this year's free agent market. So Patrick Queen goes from a division champion to an also-ran.
What type of bull is this? What?
I don't know. I really don't. Here's a defensive deal for you. Danielle Hunter, age 29, is now out of Minnesota, and he goes to Houston for 2 years and $49 million with $48 million guaranteed. Danielle Hunter.
What is Houston banking on?
You know what? D'Amico Ryans. I'll answer that question. To get Danielle Hunter into that defense, which was very, very solid all year long. I can see how they'd use him. I can see it.
Gonna have to figure out a way to open up the lane for him. That's for sure.
True.
Right. Yeah.
True. Yeah. They gotta get Danielle Hunter active on that defensive line.
Houston's never really been able to do that, though.
Speaking of active, the Redskins are active, and they have signed Marcus Mariota. And no one is hoping that Marcus Mariota sees the field in 2024. He's going to be a veteran presence. He's going to be a backup. Okay. But Mariota's career, we talked about him earlier in the show. Mariota's career continues. What? And the look on, for those of you that are listening to the show and not able to see Shane's face, we are. And the look on his face says everything we need to know.
Exactly.
Why?
You want to know? Here's a question that'll ask why. Does the name Darnell Mooney mean anything to either of you?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Guess where he's headed? Atlanta.
Oh.
Well then. That's a move.
Darnell Mooney is headed to Atlanta. The former Bears wide receiver already has a 1,000-yard season under his belt, and they expect Kirk 2 Chainz Cousins to get him another 1,000.
Good luck. Good luck.
That's what
that ain't gonna happen.
Shaq Barrett now signs with the Dolphins. I just had it. Here it is. It's a 1-year deal up to $9 million, and it was a massive need for the Dolphins to add some depth to their pass rushing unit because the Dolphins were all offense last year. They didn't and couldn't play defense when they had to, not just needed to, but had to.
Right.
Didn't they give up like the most 30 or 40 point games in a season?
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
You can't keep doing that. No, I don't
care. You really can't. You really can't. Christian Wilkins, defensive lineman, will head to the Raiders on a 4-year, $110 million deal.
Okay. I mean, the Raiders are all the hell they can get.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
T. Higgins has requested a trade. And here's a big one. And this one made my wife happy. Michael Pittman, 3 years, $71.5 million, and he's staying in Indianapolis.
Good fit for him.
Mm-hmm. Especially with a healthy Anthony Richardson being there.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a couple more that we're going to hit before we get out of here. And then I got a very fun subject to wrap up the show. I know what y'all are waiting for. We'll try to get to it when we can, but we're having fun discussing all these free agency moves. And there's one that was made by a running back to help solve another team's running back problems. Who made that move? I'll tell y'all when we get back.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby.
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Peckham's. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube. Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying. But this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Bobby J and Wise El Jefe, Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Tomorrow on the program, Scoop Miller joins to talk all things NCAA basketball. Men's and women's selection Sunday is this Sunday. We'll have live coverage of that here on Snowman Multimedia. And thank you to everyone that is signed in through YouTube. If you can, please help out the program, making a contribution to the cash apps of $ Tallman Dr. K50 and $ host Cole Johnson. We really appreciate your support. Saquon Barkley.
Oh, hell. Oh, hell.
Here we go.
Do I say it aloud?
Barkley.
Well, may as well. Saquon Barkley is headed to Philadelphia. DeAndre Swift is gone, but Saquon Barkley is sort of kind of riding to the rescue with a 3-year. He's been signed by the Eagles for a 3-year, $37.75 million contract.
Sort of, kind of, not so much riding to the rescue.
Yeah, sort of, kind of, not so much. Exactly. Now, we talked about how big of an impact DeAndre Swift may have in Chicago. We talked about how big of an impact Kirk Cousins may have with Atlanta. This is a big one. This is a big one because you let go, you let your free agent, you let your feature back walk in free agency, and then you sign Saquon Barkley, who in my eyes, has often been injured.
If I'm DeAndre Swift,
Mhm.
I'm circling every single date that the Bears face off against the Eagles because I want to beat the crap out of them. The fact that you shipped me out after 1 year where you misused me and you shipped me out after 1 year and then you grab Saquon Barkley?
Mm-hmm.
You think Saquon Barkley is better than me? Oh, I'm making you pay. I'm making you pay for it heavily.
Yep.
So why Shane, why do you think the move for them to sign Saquon Barkley for 3 years? And this is after they gave DeAndre Swift a 2-year deal.
Desperation, lack of, they needed a change of pace. I mean, it's bad enough that Tiki Barber flat out said after Saquon Barkley left the Giants, basically, you're dead to me. Philadelphia fans are going to say that 3 weeks in after he gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a waste of money.
It really is.
Eagles see Cleveland, Atlanta, Carolina, Jacksonville, Green Bay, and Pittsburgh, along with their divisional opponents, of course, the Cowboys, the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Redskins. Away, they go to Tampa, they go to LA to face the Rams, they go to Baltimore, Cincinnati, and New Orleans.
So someone was an Eagles fan that made their schedule.
I believe it.
I mean, I would say out of all those games, they probably could lose 2. They should be able to steamroll every other game.
Should be able to, and doing it,
I know
are two very different things.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like with the talent that they have and the schedule, they should be able to steamroll every single person on their schedule.
Their 2 losses will be in the division.
Yeah.
And one of them could be to the Giants.
Fair enough.
Easily. It
One
depends
of them
on when that second game is.
Yeah, one of them could be the Giants. And as crazy as this sounds, given how they played them last year, the other one could be to the Redskins.
I would say the only way that would happen is if those 2 games are late season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's garbage time.
Yeah, because early in the season, they're going to get up to a hot start. They have the last 2 years.
Oh, easily.
And they're coming off of a season where they basically collapsed after going 10-1.
Yeah.
They went 10-1, and then the wheels fell off.
Mm-hmm.
Wound up 11-6.
Wasn't it the fact they started like 6-0 or 7-0 and then got that first loss, rattled off 3 more, and then
they lost to the Jets. They lost to the Jets in the Meadowlands.
That should have broke the bus right there.
You should have.
What really broke the bus, and Cool McCain talked about it, the bus was already broken. Cool McCain talked about it, and he talked about it very well. The bus was already broken. Brian Johnson was the offensive coordinator, which made it even worse.
Yep.
What really blew up the bus and sent the parts flying, the loss to San Francisco.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
Because that deflated them heavily.
Mm-hmm.
That was a dagger.
It really was.
Well, Kellen Moore is now the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. I think they're going to do better on the offensive end and start having fun again. But if you want to point to a game, and again, I agree with Cool McCain about how this team was disconnected throughout the course of the season. But you want to point to a game, a singular game that broke them, and we talked about this December 3rd.
Yeah.
In Philadelphia, when Brock Purdy and the 49ers rode into town, and using that game essentially snatched the number 1 seed.
Didn't San Fran hang at least 30 on them that game, if I remember correctly?
32 points.
Yeah. After all that pomp and circumstance Philadelphia went through to go 10-1.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Barely giving up. They barely gave up 25, 26 points up to that point.
Right.
San Fran comes in and slaps a 42 on them.
Yep.
And it was the way that they did it, because the Eagles had scoring. The first two possessions were scoring possessions, but they were both field goals.
And then
Big
San Fran
thing.
came
They
in.
were both field goals, and then San Francisco woke up. And scored on 6 consecutive drives. All 6 of them were touchdowns.
Yeah, San Fran said, thanks. We needed to wake up.
Yep.
And went to work.
Right to it, too.
And by the way, San Francisco, as I'm looking right now, has tendered a deal to Juwan Jennings.
Oh.
So with Armstead now gone, they tendered a deal to Juwan, and they are really working on an extension for Brandon Ayuk. But staying with Philadelphia, Saquon Barkley is there now. A friend of mine and I got in a little discussion about Saquon Barkley, and they were excited, and they should be. And they should be. You're getting an all-world talent at running back in Saquon Barkley. Here is the thing that I have doubts about with Saquon Barkley, and y'all have heard me say it before on and off the air. Saquon Barkley playing with Philadelphia, knowing they want to ground and pound as well as beat you through the air, he's got to stay healthy.
Yes, he does.
He does. He's got to be able to figure out a way to bounce outside the numbers, because he stays in that middle, he's going to get rocked.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's never been a north and south runner. He has to be able to bang outside the numbers if he's going to be effective.
He's got to get outside the numbers. That's what he did at Penn State. That's what he did in his years with the Giants. He's got to get, if he gets outside the numbers, you're not going to catch him.
No.
You're not going to catch him.
He'll torch you.
How will Kellen Moore use Saquon Barkley?
If he's smart, I see him basically going 3 downs per drive, and he's going to have to start ripping off at least 5 or 6 yards a carry.
Which leads me to the offensive line. The line has to get better to open the holes for Saquon Barkley.
Absolutely.
And for Jalen Hurts. Go ahead, Victor.
Because that's what hurt them later on in the season was there was no line help. They need that line to really open holes, because with Saquon Barkley, they should be able to do some damage. But you need that protection. You need someone to create the lanes.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. So running backs,
Jalen Hurts make the plays.
Yep. So running backs have made moves, quarterbacks have made moves, and we already ripped up Kirk 2 Chainz Cousins earlier in the program with his
gold chain off his neck.
With his move going to Atlanta. We talked DeAndre Swift. We're on Saquon Barkley now. How important, Shane, is Saquon Barkley going to be to this Philadelphia offense?
He's going to be able to get the pressure off of Jalen Hurts, plain and simple. Jalen's not going to have to feel the need to run as much as he did last season. He'll be able to focus more on trying to get the deep balls downfield. If he has to, check it down to the slot, whatever he's got to do. But also the underutilized thing with Saquon, he does know how to catch the ball out of the backfield.
Right.
If they can set screens up, if they can actually set screens up with Saquon, we're going to see a lot more effective Philadelphia offense.
I agree. Have mercy.
Now think about it. Yeah, you know you're right.
Now,
I don't just know NASCAR, guys.
I know.
Just because I got a Sunday gig don't mean I can't hang on a Monday or Tuesday.
Who said that you
couldn't? But now with Saquon Barkley staying within the division, and I'm coming to Victor, staying within the division and going from the Giants to Philadelphia, what does this do for Dallas? What do they do?
It does it doesn't harm them all that much, because they're still going to have the same person. It's that you have them on a slightly better team.
Yeah.
Because Saquon Barkley is going to be able to do a bit more damage because he has a much better, provided the line gets better.
True.
Right? Provided the line gets better.
True.
he's on a better team.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a better quarterback.
Yeah.
He's going to have more weapons so that you're going to have to either get some people to focus on him. So it doesn't do a whole lot to harm Dallas because he's still there. So now that they're getting used to someone new, but it does give them a little bit cause for concern because, again, he's on a better team.
Yeah.
And now you're going to have a much easier time beating the crap out of the Giants. Sorry, Mr. Wise.
But what does this do for the running back situation in Dallas now that Barkley's off the board?
Well, we don't have it to begin with. So
back.
The big thing with Dallas in terms of the running game is the whole thing with Tony Pollard, like I said, has shown that they are draft bound. They're going to try and get majority of what they need out of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And so for my sake, for my sanity's sake, I hope they do well in the draft. And the first pick better be a running back or someone in the offensive line. Otherwise, I'm going to have a conniption fit. They do another defensive.
Just don't do it live Just don't do it live on my program like you did last year.
Oh
please.
Oh my God.
When we did the draft last year, with some of the picks that Victor saw, I thought Victor was going to reach through this computer and choke me.
We're going to have fun this year.
That we are. Speaking of fun, one more thing to do before we close up shop. Thank you to Pat Ruffino for joining me, as well as Connor Klingon for joining me. Back after this with a tradition. We'll be back.
Crap.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Join the transporter to Hades.
Your butt and gut becomes one.
Join the reformer of hooker whores.
This is my daughter, Placenta Booty Johnson.
Join the bronze car.
Whenever you are in distress, take off your baseball cap and throw it in the air.
Join your very own superhero of broadcasting, Chris Bass.
So whatever color crayon they get, they palm it and do two circles, and that translates to I can beat up black people.
As she takes you through the week's paces in Baseline. Live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, Pacific Time Zone people, just stay asleep when this is on live and just catch the recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Exclusively on the Chris Bass YouTube channel. Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pistol 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby.
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Pick'em. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Pat Ruffino. He joins me right now. Pat, how are you, man? Great to have you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. I'm doing well, just kind of balancing, work, football, and everything like that. And, still at work. A little bit of a time change for me. I'm on the West Coast right now, but, we're having a great time. And you know what? Another plug here, Brian. I just crossed 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so I'm pretty pumped about that.
Congratulations, man. I just did the same for Snowman Multimedia, and this is a crazy time right now with NFL free agency. Of course, you and I are going to be covering the United Football League. Let's start there. The XFL and the USFL have merged. In case you all have followed football, don't know, they have merged. They have come together, and they formed this United Football League. There are 8 teams involved. First of all, let me get your thoughts on the two spring leagues merging and becoming one.
I think it's kind of like when you have an animal that's kind of backed up into a corner, they kind of get a little desperate, right? This is a move for survival. If they were as strong as they thought they were, they'd probably be two separate entities, or there might have been a little bit of a shirt change. It's pretty subjective based off like who do you think won in this? Is it the XFL? Is it the USFL? But in the end, my biggest thing I always preach is we had 16 teams. Each team had about 50 people on it, plus coaches and training staff and support staff. And then now we have 8, and we've cut that down. We just had our first round of cuts, and we've essentially slashed an opportunity where it seems like we hit the pinnacle of spring football and football in general in America in 2023.
Yeah, man. A couple of the 8 markets, of course, the league champions are still there. The Arlington Renegades from the XFL and the Birmingham Stallions from the USFL, and those two are going to kick off the season in a matchup of champions to open the season. Tell me your thoughts about that opening game right there, matching the 2 champions.
I mean, it's a good marketing ploy, right? You hear people, whether they be the majority or the minority, still people are talking about which league was better. Oh, the XFL had a team that went 4-6 and wasn't diddly squat versus the USFL that has had only one champion as well, but it's Birmingham Stallions the last 2 years who've amassed a 21-3 record under Skip Holtz. And not only have they done it twice in a row, they essentially did it with 2 different quarterbacks, which, get on my high horse here, ironically talking about the Stallions, is you got a guy like Alex Magoo who actually essentially won them both championships. He was a reserve quarterback in the championship game in 2022 and, kind of willed them over the hump before KJ Costello threw a game-sealing interception to Scooby Wright. So I think a lot of people forget about that, and I always like to kind of throw that into the universe out there, but I don't see how you do it any other way. I would have probably kept the teams all in Texas plus Memphis, but I have to look at the schedule again from a what's the word I'm looking for, from a like travel perspective. But in the end, I still have spring football. Obviously, the dates have been moved a little bit. For the USFL, it got pushed up. For the XFL, it got pushed back. A little bit upset about that because I think there's a lot of experience these guys gain and go into rookie minicamp. And with this happening during it, you're not going to see that right now.
Pat Ruffino joining us here on the program, talking talking the merger of the USFL and the XFL coming into the United Football League. It starts March 30th. That we talked about the game that pits the 2 champions against each other. The dates have been released. Go to theufl.com for all the coverage. But man, I'm excited for the players that get a second chance. But some of the teams that were not included, I feel kind of bad for them. Do you think it was a good idea to start with just 8 teams, or should all the teams had come in this first time around?
Man, I'd have to look at their books. As someone who's involved in business, you got to look at the books. Could they afford it? 16 teams. What are their margins are they allowed to take a loss right now for 2 years? But if they had 16 teams, if it didn't work in 2024, or we shafted out of 2025 and 2026 of this, I always say with a spring league, if your books are half decent, you can afford to do this thing for 3 years. And essentially, we're on year 3 for one of these entities and year 2 for the other. But I'd like to believe with the combined resources that they're on, year 1 fresh start. So no matter how bad it is the next 2 years, we still get ball until 2026.
Pat Ruffino joining us here on the program. Let's take a look at some of the teams. Of course, we got to start with we will start with the USFL champions for 2 straight years, the Birmingham Stallions. How strong do they look coming into this year and going up against a few different teams?
Well, I mean, when you cut guys like Channing Stribling, another mainstay is a guy like Bobby Holly. You cut guys like that, you're telling the rest of the league that you got some pretty talented dudes on that roster.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to agree. You know, not only did they cut those 2 players, they also got rid of a guy named Jalen Morton, who's been in the league for a couple of years, bounced around the CFL. And while he's not a all-star by any means, he's still a guy who's been in their system that they're comfortable going into 2024 with Jamar Smith and Adrian Martinez and Matt Corral as his backups. He got another guy on that roster who I think is going to be a very underrated role is Jordan Thomas, a tight end, made a lot of highlight plays on special teams, actually spent a lot of time on the Panthers practice squad as a linebacker. So in the small league with a lot of versatility, are we going to see a guy like Thomas play linebacker, D end, and fullback in addition to tight end? So that's a storyline I don't think gets talked about enough that I'm really curious about. And that's a guy you can see go back to a practice squad because of his versatility as well.
Pat Ruffino joining us on the program. Let's look at the other league champion, the Arlington Renegades, who came out of nowhere because everyone thought it would be the Houston Roughnecks. Then they fell to the Renegades in their conference championship. Then we thought it would be the DC Defenders, who just rolled through everybody. How big of a surprise were the Arlington Renegades last year?
I mean, they were surprised until they got Luis Perez under center, and you saw some stabilizing force at the quarterback position. This is a team that had a lot of production from the running game. If you look at their roster, even still, there's no one on that receiving core that you're like, oh, that's a guy right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a lot of strength through the running game. They did have an injury so far to Garrett McGinn. So I was told it was a torn meniscus. We'll see what happens on that front. League hasn't said anything really about injuries or anything like that. But you got 2 good tight ends there. Sal Cannell is an all-league player or a perennial all-league player. Davion Smith with Letty Brown in the backfield. 2 guys you really want to keep tabs on as well, the elder statesmen. But they'll run a running back by committee. And we'll see. Perez has every opportunity there to succeed. We'll see what happens to him. Someone you want to keep an eye on as well as a USFL guy is Jake Lucina. He's been an all-conference player over the last couple of years. We'll see what happens with him. And then there's a linebacker named Christian Sam who spent 2023 or 2022 with the Cowboys for a little bit and then was out of football last year. So we'll see what happens with him.
Oh, man, talking all kinds of football with Pat Ruffino. Let's switch to the NFL. Of course, free agency craziness going on right now with big names being on the move. Tell me a couple of moves that surprised you and if you think they will work with their new teams.
I mean, it might not be a big name, but, you know, I saw today Drew Lock getting signed by the Giants. You know, that to kind of puts the brakes on the relocation of Daniel Jones. I think you bring in Locke as kind of a we'll see what happens type thing.
Yeah.
If he needs to go, Locke's a guy I think could really reboost his stock. I think he did some good things in Seattle, and a lot of people were high on him as well. But to me, I think it signals that they're either going to trade down in the draft or they're going to pick up one of these 3 good wide receivers in Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, and I doubt he'll be there, but Marvin Harrison Jr., because I don't think any of those top 3 quarterbacks are going to be there.
Right.
You also got Daniil Hunter getting out of Minnesota finally, and then I think the big one today was Derrick Henry going to the Ravens, ground and pound, add in Lamar Jackson and his rushing ability with the rest of the running backs they got there. They'll figure it out pretty quick. Quarterback movement, you got Brissett to the Pats. It's a good veteran move. Mariota to the Commanders. That room's about to get crowded because we'll see what happens, what they do with Sam Howell. Obviously, Russell Wilson's moved the needle a little bit, going to the going to the Steelers. I mean, I think that's Kenny Pickett's team until week 4, but I'll never count out Mason Rudolph.
Right.
You know, I think that guy deserves more of an opportunity. I don't think he's a star by any means, or I don't even think he's a high tier starting quarterback. But what has he done to deserve the treatment he has gotten in the NFL? You know, I feel like he's done what he can. Essentially, he got his name dragged through the mud by being called a racist with the Miles Garrett situation, which everyone was like, that didn't happen. You know, you had African American players coming to his defense. You know, if he said something, probably would have gotten called out at one point, right?
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, I mean, 70% of the league's African American. I'm sure someone on this team would have had a problem with it. But you know, Sam Darnold to the Vikings. I don't think Nick Mullins has been signed yet. I'd rather see him go to the Jets versus Trevor Siemian. But the Jets pick up Tyrod Taylor, which you got a 40-year-old quarterback coming off a Achilles injury. Not bad, not a bad move. And we got Kirk Cousins going to the Dirty A. What do we think about that? Like there's a lot of weapons down there. Could we see Kyle Pitts explode? Does Cordell Patterson want to come and hang out on a vet min, just to be around that? So many moves. It's the legal tampering period.
Yep.
A lot of sexy stuff. Gardner Minshew to the Raiders. Very curious to see what's going on about that. Because I was big on Jaden Daniels going to the Raiders to reunite with Antonio Pierce. But, I mean, you sign a guy like Gardner Minshew. You have a guy who's got reps there who played pretty well, and Aiden O'Connell. I don't, maybe you do bring in the young quarterback. I don't know. What does Devontae want?
With the signing of Kirk Cousins with the Falcons and all of the ripple effects with the quarterbacks and the big free agents being signed, let me bring this name to your attention. With both the potential destinations for one Justin Fields off the board, now what do the Bears do?
Man, I'm not high on Caleb. That's my problem. Is I'm too biased. I think a lot of the stuff he's done. I think he's an all-world talent with a JV personality, and that's here. Is like. I don't think Justin Fields is the guy, but I think he's willed them to games, and I think he deserves to be treated with a little bit of a higher threshold of respect, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't think Justin Fields is going to be your true Pro Bowler. I know some guys sneak into the Pro Bowl. I think most fans realize the Pro Bowl doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
But when you think of okay, these are the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks, I don't in your conference. I don't think that's Justin Fields, but I do think Justin Fields is going to represent himself, the city of Chicago, and his teammates in a more positive light than Caleb Williams will. I've seen Justin Fields lose. I've seen Caleb Williams lose. Trevor Lawrence lost 3 games his whole life before he went to the NFL.
Right.
You know what I mean? Eventually things don't add up.
The thing with, and you and I share the opinion about Caleb Williams. His personality I believe, is going to cost him. He has an all-world talent, and I've gotten into flat-out arguments with people that think Caleb Williams is going to be this all-world player and that he has the mentality to lead a team, and everyone's connecting him with the Bears. And I keep getting the question, how can you say that Caleb Williams will not lead a team? I point you to the game against Utah when Utah walked down the field, got a couple of personal fouls called against USC after Caleb Williams had brought them back from a huge deficit. But when the players were shaking hands after Utah walked off in the Coliseum in Los Angeles, where was Caleb Williams? There's my question right there. Where was Caleb Williams when the teams were shaking hands? Now I understand that you lost the game, but you got to lose with some dignity. I didn't see any in that game.
Yeah, it's between that, the stuff with his father rubs me the wrong way, and I
Mm-hmm.
get a man will always try to do right by his son. That's not my issue. It's there's a little bit too much trying to be Arch Manning, or
Mm-hmm.
Archie Manning, but Archie Manning, in my opinion, wasn't coming at this in a position of malice. Archie Manning was coming at this as, I know my son. I was in a very bad situation in which my legacy was hurt
Mm-hmm.
with the Saints. That was a bad franchise. And I'm not saying the Bears got it going, but I am saying if Justin Fields is wielding you to 6 wins, 7 wins, I think Caleb Williams is more talented than Justin Fields beyond, you know, by a long shot. But, there were some, like Tyson Badgett was winning them games as well. So it's like there's talent there. Now act like an adult and push through. And that's kind of my thing with Caleb. And we've all seen gracious winners. It's easy to be great when you know, when you're winning and everything's going your way, but when you're losing, your true character shows. And every time that we see Caleb lose, we see a headline. Is that fair to him? Possibly not, but you're making all this money, you're doing all this stuff, you've been rated this high. Heavy is the head that lies the crown. I'd say the same. I'm going to say the same thing in 2025 when we talk about Shador when they go 6-6.
Right.
Which I don't think Shador could even be nearly the quarterback Caleb can.
Mm-hmm.
But if maybe some of that humble pie at Colorado last year, maybe when the careers are said and done, Shador has a better career because maybe going 4-8 and flexing on an Arizona State team humbles you a little bit.
Yeah, the game where Shador really got humbled was the game in Oregon when the Oregon Ducks just stomped all over him. And I understand players having confidence within themselves. I understand that. But again, with Caleb Williams and with Shador Sanders, you can have all the confidence and the talent in the world, but if you don't have the humility, it's not going to carry you anywhere. And I point to that game as an example for Shador Sanders, just as I point to the Utah game for Caleb Williams.
I don't point to that game. I point to Arizona State when he flexed because you did what you were supposed to do. Like, it's kind of like sometimes, I coach ball and my kids will make a play and they'll be like, "Oh, I made that play." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're supposed to. You're better than. Why didn't you make 3 more plays before?" And obviously I articulated it a little bit different, but that's the beans, the rice and beans of the situation. And I point to the Colorado State game. They had no business giving Colorado State that much leeway.
Right.
They won, but I mean, with all the hype, with the weapons, granted Travis Hunter gets hurt that game. And, that Blackburn kid, I think it was a dirty hit. I think people were a little bit over on him, but when you're playing Colorado, everything you do is going to be maximized tenfold, good, bad, indifferent type thing. So that's a different conversation, which I saw I'll tell you, we talk Colorado every 5 seconds, it seems like, but man, I like that. I like that Travis Hunter kid, and what he did to that Blackburn kid, like having him come on this YouTube and whatnot and talking with the boy. That just to me spoke volumes about Travis Hunter as a man.
Mm-hmm. It did.
That's a guy that I will root for the rest of his career.
Same here. I definitely will after seeing that conversation. One more with Shador Sanders before I let you go. The game against Stanford when they were up 29-0 and they wind up losing in double overtime. You're up 29-0 against a team that you should beat in the Stanford Cardinal, and Shador and company did not put them away. Give me your thoughts on that game and what it did to Colorado and what it could do for them going forward.
Well, that was the game when they didn't shake hands, I believe, right? That was like that was when half of them ran off. I mean, in my personal opinion, I put that less on Shedeur and more on the team in general. I think he only had 1 or 2 turnovers that game, and they still. I mean, like you gotta have that killer mentality, in my opinion. Like you gotta put the teams away. And I mean, I don't remember Stanford's record and whatnot, but I know they were coming off. I know Colorado. They won their 3 games and they lost a couple games and whatnot, and then. I don't know. You just got to put these teams away, and that's when you're up 29-0. I didn't watch the full game because we were playing.
Yeah.
We were playing. But on the flip side, if I were to watch the all 22, I'd be very curious about like clock management. Were they slowing the game down? Like they couldn't get a stop. I know they had 2 drives towards the end. It was like a 12-play and a 15-play drive or something like that Stanford had. And then, Colorado, came back, or not came back, but extended the lead with a touchdown to Hunter. But that was only 4 plays. So what is that, a minute off the clock? Like you let a 14-play drive go. You know the scenario because they scored that touchdown. You get the ball 5 minutes back. Make something happen, nut up. Like, I kind of go with the coaching on that because, they didn't score any points in the third quarter.
None. Man, love talking football with this man. Pat Ruffino joining us here on the program, talking all kinds of football, including the United Football League. He and I are going to cover the UFL in 2024. Man, I can't wait to have you back and have you on each week, breaking down the UFL and the teams and just all kinds of football. Thanks for coming on, my friend. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, sir.
We'll wrap it up after this.
Crap.
Sports bettors, listen up. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back and in our 30th year of action. With live in-game betting, incredible odds with daily odds boosters, props and parlays, fast payouts, and exceptional one-to-one customer service, we got it all. And when you sign up today and use the code SNOWMAN, you will get a 125% deposit match on your deposit. Log on to betus.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BET-US. BetUS.com, where the game begins.
Mister? How do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Welcome back. Snowman here with you, along with the big dog Shane Lake, as well as Vic Allah joining us from Chicago. And this final portion of Snowman in the Morning is brought to you by SeatGeek. March Madness is here, and if you have plans for Glendale, Arizona, or Cleveland, Ohio, let old Snowman show you how with the power. Let old Snowman help you with the power of SeatGeek. With just a few taps on your phone, you can find the best seats for all of your entertainment. Download the app, pick the seats you want at the Final Four, and most importantly, use the code Snowman Multimedia for $20 off of your first purchase. That's only with the power of SeatGeek, where fans can fan. Speaking of fans, there's a group of fans that we have to deal with.
Crap! I thought we could get out of it once.
No, we never get away from these people. Never.
I thought we'd get out of it too.
Damn it!
But then I sent Victor something.
Oh no! Here we go.
You remember that post I sent you?
Mm-hmm.
Play the damn intro, Snowman.
Start the heartbeat.
In a world where partial greatness is celebrated and total greatness is shunned, there stands to be a figure on the lips of those who love him and those who hate him. The inane comparisons to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant continue and has existed since 2003. There is no end in sight, for the battle between those who unconditionally love and unconditionally hate him wages on. These are their stories. Welcome to the Bronzexual Confessions.
Oh, crap.
Here we go.
In a post that I was tagged in.
Isn't this how this usually starts?
Yep. Finishing my breakfast. In a group called
Oh, hell.
Well, I need to beat someone with a rotisserie chicken again.
Yes.
Snowman, do I need to unscrew the top of my shifter over here so we can actually use it as a weapon?
In a group called Goat James Kingdom.
What?
I wish I was making this up.
That's amazing.
I wish I was making this up. This elongated fart of a post reads as follows. Quote, MJ fans love to talk about how Jordan scored more than anyone in the first 15 seasons, but they also don't want to talk about how MJ shot over 1,200 more shots than the rest of the top five scorers of all time. And MJ was the only one here who didn't play 1,100 plus games in the 15 seasons. So basically, MJ played less games and shot more than anyone, and that's why they want us to accept Jordan as the greatest scorer.
That's called efficiency,
Close
dummies.
Close quote.
That's called efficiency, dummies.
Whose head am I cracking open with this?
Oh, I'll expose the name happily.
Please.
Johnny
Bakari.
Oh, God.
You see this? This is the shift knob off the top of my TH8A shifter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to use it to crack someone's head open.
So, of course, I responded to this.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, give me this button. Quote, do you even watch basketball, or more to the point, pay attention to basketball?
No.
Close quote. I got a response.
Okay.
Oh, hell.
I love it
and
when
the response was, quote, yes, indeed, I do. And we done with the 90s. Close quote.
Someone's behind hurt over that. Someone's hurt over that.
Someone took a foot in the ass and didn't like it.
Right?
Well, they're about to get another one. Give me this camera. Yo Kang sucks. As a basketball player. You want to use the hashtag the exposer? Let me use it for you. Michael Jordan was a shooting guard, you idiot. What do shooting guards do? They shoot the ball. Let me say that again for your lack of fundamentals, Johnny Bakari.
Say it for those in the back.
Please.
Michael Jordan was a shooting guard. What do shooting guards do in a basketball game? They shoot the ball.
That's the crazy thing is that most people still believed that Mike was actually a point guard because he played it so well.
Mike was a two guard for his entire career, college and pro.
Mm-hmm.
What do shooting guards do? They shoot the ball. By the way, Johnny Bakari, let me expose this to you. Since you want to be the exposer, I'm going to take that hashtag and run with it. In 1987, the 86-87 year, Michael Jordan averaged 37.1 points per game. 37.1.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many 3-point shots he took that entire season? And oh, by the way, unlike Yo Kang, he played 82 games.
Oops.
Yeah, oops. We expose the truth here on our sports show, if you bother to listen.
How
you know
many
3-point shots he took? You know how many 3-point shots he took in the 86-87 year total?
How many?
A dozen.
A dozen.
He took only 12 3-point shots the entire year. Meanwhile, you, which you having your nose up LeBron James's ass, think he's the greatest scorer? Listen, LeBron James has depended on the 3-point goals since Stephen Curry has been in the league. Why? Because Stephen Curry took an anomaly and turned it into a weapon.
Don't know why, because he can't shoot 3 points that well. Not with that chicken wing jump shot he's got.
He sure
Chicken
can.
wang.
Chicken wang.
Chicken wang. Chicken wang.
Chicken wang. Chicken wang for the Kang.
Which goes back to my original statement.
Yo Kang sucks.
Yo Kang sucks ass as a basketball player. Yo Kang has ruined the league. Listen to me, Ron Sexuals. I will say it again proudly. Yo Kang has ruined the league. And when I say he's ruined the league, I am not using hyperbole. I'm using nothing but facts. And I'm using nothing but what my eyes have seen over the past 21 years. Now, granted, my vision has gone down a bit because of my health, but I know what I've seen over the past 21 years. And believe me, when I tell you, it is not good.
Nope.
It has never been good.
Nope.
He has never been consistent. Michael Jordan has done more in 15 seasons than LeBron is trying to do in 21. Let me say that again.
Say it for those of us louder in the back here over at the Union Center.
Please. I want to hear it again.
Michael Jordan has done more in 15 seasons than LeBron James has done in 21 seasons. Matter of fact, let me pose a pop quiz. Let me pose a pop quiz.
Okay.
How many times has LeBron James led the league? Excuse me. How many times has LeBron James averaged 30 points per game for a full season?
Never.
3.
1.
Hasn't Michael done it 5 times?
Meanwhile, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, in terms of scoring, his first year averaging 30 plus came in the 86-87 season. 37.1, in case y'all forgot. Now, how many times has Michael Jordan averaged 30 plus points per game?
5.
I'll answer that for you. 8. 8. I can't go full Lewis Black because there are some bad words involved.
Yeah, I was gonna say don't go full Lewis Black, but I get what
and
you're
you
saying.
know the clip I'm talking about, Victor.
Oh, I do.
Michael Jordan's career average 30.1 points per game. 30.1.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jordan's career average, even Michael Jordan's career average is more than the one season where LeBron averaged 30 points a game. Michael Jordan's career average, 30.1. LeBron's scoring average, the 1 year that he averaged 30 points a game, 30.0. Even 30. So all this dumbassery that these bronze sexuals continue to spew and speak and whatever you want to call it. Quit it.
They won't.
I know they won't. That's why we get content every week.
They're worse than Diarrhea Dwayne on the mic.
Diarrhea Dwayne.
Diarrhea Dwayne.
Oh, man.
I had to, Vic. I had to.
No. I know you had to do that.
Oh, man. I just don't understand. And again, why is this always a comparison? It doesn't make sense.
Never made sense to me either.
Y'all like LeBron. Whoopee.
Yippee skippy.
Which led to this.
Oh, no.
Not a conversation with a bronze sexual.
What you mean?
Thank you, Victor.
Why'd you do that?
He started it.
Lovely.
Yeah, usually you don't look for conversation with bronze sexuals. They just find you.
Hell no. This one found me by saying, quote, I know you're a Michael Jordan fan and an old school basketball fan, but you need to step aside and let the king take over. Ha! Close quote.
No. I will not.
These people must write for Jimmy Kimmel.
No, they write for Nick Wrong.
I told him a few things.
Number one.
Stop it. Get some help.
You should tell him something else.
Number two.
Euphoria.
You should tell him something else.
Number three. No. 2A. I told this to myself.
I'm getting too old for this.
Yeah.
And I threw a little
What?
at him.
I would have told him something else.
I had something for him too.
I added a few things. Trust me. I said,
Bitch, are you for real?
And
Bitch, please.
And
to finish it off.
Shut up, bitch.
There's diarrhea. There's Diarrhea Dwayne for everybody.
That's what we're waiting for.
Yep.
I had to set it up. Oh, and as a bonus, I told him,
Stop the cap.
We know they won't.
We know.
Far from it.
We know. Let the king take over, huh? I now present a selection from the Wonder Bread Choir entitled, What You Mean? Of course, he responded. He said, because LeBron James is much better than Mike ever was. My response to him came in the form of a question.
Why the you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my gosh. Stop lying. Oh.
Well, that's the problem. They don't think they're lying. They believe what they're saying. The nonsense that's coming out of their mouth, they fully believe it.
That must That must be some heavy gold in those sunglasses.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
To say the least.
I got something to say about that. Yo, Kang! Blows chunks.
And has for a very, 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 very long time.
Yup.
And now this word from our sponsor.
This moment of bronze sexual stupidity is brought to you by Hooked on Bronix. When you start talking like an idiotic bronze sexual, Hooked on Bronix can set you right. Call 1-800-YO-KANG. LJPM, now approve all this.
The NBA is ruined. It will forever be ruined. It will never get back to where it once was when everyone can enjoy watching the NBA. Why? Because yes, LeBron, it is you. It has always been you. It always will be you forever and ever and ever. Amen. Now get the hell out of my face, you thirsty bitches.
In a world where logic and sense flies completely out the window, while purple and yellow glasses are donned, rises a figure who encourages ridiculous, undying loyalty. Good Lord, I'm about to throw up. This has been yet another installment of The Bronzexual Confessions.
It's 2024 and the seals are still clapping. What's wrong with this picture?
Everything.
It's 2024 and LeBron is still playing. What is wrong with that picture?
Like I said, everything.
Yep.
And on that note, I'm going back to bed. Have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, they're simply not big enough. And by the way, LeBron,
You blew it. Capiche?
we're out of here. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow we talk to Scoop Miller.